Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 191. We are entering into the fall season for real here in Columbus, Ohio. So this is probably one of the last few weeks you're going to see us just in T-shirts, maybe. You'll slowly over the weeks, you'll see us layering up.
Putting on bulk.
The hats will come on. The heaters will be on. We'll be breathing in the propane heaters. It'll be great. It'll be great. We're looking forward to it. But I want to thank, before we get into who our very special guests, that's right, multiple guests tonight, want to get into our sponsors. So first and foremost, we've had some big things going on with our Patreon stuff and some of the other things. So I do want to thank everyone that is supporting us, patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. We also have a Venmo now available at Bourbon and BS. So all of that support's been great, helps us continue to grow this and continue making some good content for you guys. It also has changed as well as far as you guys can get your own shirts. This is for everyone at buyjack.com. That's byjack.com/Bourbon and BS for our shirts. Like what we're wearing tonight, the gray ones, we've got black ones, we've got red ones and blue ones. And then as of this morning, I'm really proud of this.
Yeah, you should be.
And we've sold 2 of them so far. It doesn't sound like a lot, but within 12 hours, we sold 2 of them already just through social media with our following. I know it's not for everyone, but we did a charity pink podcast shirt. So it's going to be that nice bright pink with black lettering of the pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together. And that shirt is going to be a special price of $30, and $10 of that shirt will be donated on behalf of the podcast and the community to the National Breast Cancer Research Institution. I think it's the official title.
Foundation.
Yeah. I thought
it was an F.
Yeah, it is an F. You're right. So yeah, that charity is going to be receiving $10 for every shirt. So if you guys haven't seen that yet and you guys want to check it out, buyjack.com/Bourbon and BS. There's also for the patrons out there, you guys can go to a special website with a code that I sent you through the Patreon email. Check your email. You'll get a special price on the T-shirts. Guys, thank you for that. And then also Tinderbox at Easton here in Columbus, Ohio. They're the ones that are kind of the backbone of this whole podcast. Check them out. They are also, again, in the Columbus area, place to smoke, place to buy some of the great cigars, such as the CAOs and the Cohibas that we're going to be smoking tonight. And also Altadis USA for the continued support. We appreciate Josh Bentley and the team over there for the continued support with the podcast over the last 3 years. You guys have been amazing. And also BS Cigar Company, the gold and the silver are available at Tinderbox at Easton, as well as a couple other shops and also online. So you guys check those out as well. And without further ado, I don't want to go too long into make these guys wait. Tonight we're going to be smoking the Cohiba Blue as well as the CAO Zocalo. And we're going to go straight to the source on both of these. And tonight which is
awesome.
It's amazing that we have them both, not only just one of them. They've both been on the podcast before, but also together. I'm excited to have Sean Williams with Cohiba and also Rick Rodriguez from CAO. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show again. Thank you so much for coming together and also doing this together. I've seen you guys do collaborated shows when you guys were doing that with Laurel. And I know you guys have been at when we were doing multi-vendor events, which are hopefully coming back here very soon. But you guys know each other fairly well and also work well together, smoke each other's stuff, give each other shit, I'm sure, and also support each other while you guys work together. So, Sean, let's check in with you real quick since you're on top of the screen there. Just a quick, you were on before, but just a kind of quick introduction of yourself and how long you've been with Cohiba, what your role is, just so everyone that's listening for the first time or may not be as familiar with you and Cohiba. Everyone has heard of Cohiba, and more people are hearing the name Sean Williams, I think, as time goes on with the brand with you. So if you could just give us a little bit of an intro for us.
Well, obviously, I am some people, I guess, term me as the face of Cohiba. I've been called Mr. Cohiba a lot lately, which I've been called a lot worse, just to make it clear.
By me.
By you, man. More times than I like to think. I love you, man. I miss you, bro. I miss you a lot, man. So I've been fortunate enough to be the guy out front for Cohiba now for about 4.5 years. I can't believe how time flies. Been in the cigar business for at this point over a decade and a half. Launched my brand, which I apologize if people listening are familiar with the story, but launched my brand back in spring of 2006. Took my very first trip to Nicaragua in January 2006 to work on some blends at the Placencia factory, and launched my brand the spring of that year, and was the main guy, obviously, and innovator, and packing clerk and shipping clerk, and everything else you can think of that you do with a small cigar brand for just over 10 years. And fortunate enough, Cohiba came along, at least General Cigars came along with the Cohiba opportunity. And it's great that I'm on the call on the show with this guy tonight, because this is the guy that actually called me on behalf of General Cigar to see if I'd be interested in being the guy that's sitting on the screen talking to you guys now. So I'm a cigar maker. I've been a cigar maker for, like I said, a decade and a half, and fortunate enough to be out front with Cohiba, and heading up the team that leads the innovation for the brand. I get to do fun stuff like this, and I get to do a lot of stuff that I get to do all the things that I love with my cigar brand, as far as being a part of creating the cigars, getting out to interact with cigar lovers in retail shops throughout the country. Cohiba, fortunately, we have a lot of other sort of non-in-humidor activations that we do with partner luxury brands outside of cigars that I get to do. So, get to really just just chase a passion, man, that I've had now for a good part of my adult life, man, and do it with an incredible, iconic brand like Cohiba, and work with an incredible company like General Cigars and Scandinavian Tobacco Group, and get to do it with one of my dearest friends and one of my closest friends in the world, Rick. So that's the cliff notes, so to speak.
Those are some pretty powerful cliff notes there. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then Rick, he kind of introduced you a little bit, I guess, well.
Yeah, really. I have to follow that.
I know it's tough. Are you going to compliment him too?
To follow that. Yeah. So I'm Rick. Yeah. Exactly, bro. We know the love that we have for each other, but I'm Rick for CAO, and so I've been with CAO now going on 11 years. I can't believe, like Sean said, 4.5 years with Cohiba. Mm-hmm. I cannot believe that we're approaching 12 years with CAO, and so we took over that line about 12 years ago. I left La Gloria. At that time, I was working with La Gloria, and went to CAO. And the foundation that I had to build the new CAO on is what a great foundation. And so, again, what I do for a living right now is, I interact with marketing, creating the stories behind the tobaccos. I work with the factories to create the blends that we were going to share, that ties into that story. And so, like Sean does, you know what, the biggest part of our working career, our life, is just going out there, meeting people, and sharing our stories about our line. So it's one of the best jobs in the world if you can get it. Really, it's a great job. It's a great job.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are envious of both of you guys.
Yeah.
But I think that shows like a lot of the hard work. Obviously, it doesn't just happen overnight. A lot of people are just like, I want to be. They look at that. We've talked about this on the show before. Like, I want to be a cigar rep. There's like a rock style, rock star lifestyle a little bit with that. And then you go to your guys' level, and it's like you're even a step further. It's like you're not. You're basically on the road. You have your hands on what's coming out with that brand on it. I mean, it is absolutely a lot of people that are enthusiasts of cigars. It's kind of a dream job. It's kind of like you guys do a lot of the hard work. You're the face of it, like you said, Sean, and you guys have all this creativity and working with these great teams, but you don't necessarily have to work every day with the nuts and bolts of the budget or in the field.
Yeah, listen, man, I joke with people. Having a small cigar brand, there were more times than I can imagine that I can remember that I ran out of money before I ran out of month. You know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the month, you have brokers to pay. You have travel expense, man. You have import. There's just so many things, man. That really, kind of grind at you as far as just any cigar brand, large or small.
Oh yeah.
But at the heart of it is the passion. I mean, that's the only way at any level in this business. The only way you stick in this business if you're passionate about it and you love it, because it's not the easiest business to be a part of. But everybody I know that's remotely successful in this business are so because they really just love this little thing, man. And it's just it's unreal.
All right, so let's. I appreciate you guys sharing that, introducing yourselves, and for those that haven't listened to the different episodes these guys were on, I know Ricky, you've been a part of a couple now, and Sean, you had yours. What was that? 2020, wasn't it? Like when everything was still locked down a bit. You were. I think,
yeah. Was Herring in Jonathan?
Herring was in the garage.
Jonathan Herring was here in the garage.
Yeah. And we fired him the next day, or he left for Forge. I'm sorry.
I don't think it was the next day.
I raised my hand. Yeah, I raised my hand.
He landed on his feet. Just put it that way.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He's with your now what sister company?
I think he's part of your. Yeah. And I think he's listening. So we love you, bro.
Yeah, he's been commenting.
Yes, he is. In fact,
I'm sure he is.
All he did was say hey and say you guys were too great for the game.
Now I feel bad because I voted for fire him. Now I feel bad.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. You just have to give the reason. But let's get into the cigars here, guys, while we can. And part one of the show, for those listening for the first time, we've got two parts. First part, we talk about the cigars and the whiskey. And then the second part, we do a life topic. Tonight, the topic, having these two great gentlemen on, we talk about working together. And the way that works is we can talk about how it applies to their careers, how it applies to their personal relationships, how it applies just to everything, really. There is no real format or flow chart on how this goes other than the very, very basic backbone to it. So, but I do want to get into right now, Nate and I, because we talked about it, we've got the Cohiba Blue and we have the CAO Zocalo. Neither of them are the newest lines for you guys, but I know for the Blue, it's been out for how long, Sean?
The Blue actually came out in early 2017, I think like spring of 2017. So it was still relatively new when I came on board, summer 2017.
Now, did you have your hands on this blend, or was this
No, it totally predates me. Yeah. It was like I said, it was released before I came on board the company.
Right before, yeah. But with the Blue, this was a different effort, and that's what Nate and I are smoking, just because it is a bit lighter than the Zocalo. The Zocalo, we'll get into it a little bit here as well with Ricky, but that one was a re-release in a sense. And that one was, when did the first Zocalo come out before we get to the Blue here? Was that around the same time, 2016, 2017? When that
that came out, and that was 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, so 2018.
18. So not too far apart. And that Zocalo was just a one size, one off, limited run initially, correct?
Yeah. So what we're doing is we wanted to test the market with this new wrapper. It was the first time that we ever used a Mexican wrapper. And so instead of launching a full-time launch, we said let's just kind of sneak it out, see if the fans of CAO will accept it, love it, and want it more. And the response was, yeah, we love the blend. The only thing negative was in our shop, we're not a bunch of guys that smoke 6x60. And so that was the original release, so 6x60. And so, no, if you like the blend, we're going to definitely go down in sizes. And we launched I think the Toro size and the Robusto size with the 6x60.
Yeah, we've got the Robusto here tonight.
So Rick, are you in the second in the segment where they really get into the Zocalo? Are you going to tell them about the name and who was a part of that.
Yeah, we have to. We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to because
Save
somebody.
it.
Yeah,
Save
we have
it.
to. We have to kind of. Yeah. No, you know what? Exactly. Because
All right, so we're gonna hold off on
you
that
can
part.
be
That's
an
I think
asshole
I know where
for the
that's
next
going.
5
Actually.
minutes, and we're gonna. Yeah.
I think I've heard a bit of that story. All right, so the Cohiba Blue, Sean.
Somebody's going to be happy.
Yeah, someone is if they're listening. The Cohiba Blue, for those that aren't as familiar with that blend, we'll go over the blend. But the biggest thing I think, as far as for the consumer side of things, and also retailers, and just the name Cohiba itself, as far as the generally, with you guys being General Cigars with Cohiba, and just the name in general in the cigar world, it came out at a price point that really shocked a lot of people. And there were a lot of questions, I think. And at the same time, when it came out, it was obviously that blue band. It's not the same one as on it right now, but it was a completely different direction for Cohiba. And you're saying you walked in as soon as they released this cigar, basically, right? Shortly thereafter. And you're like, wait, what am I getting into with this cigar?
No, it wasn't so much that. I mean, obviously I was familiar with Cohiba Blue because it really started hitting the shelves pretty heavy late spring. So I was familiar with it. From a consumer standpoint, I wasn't intimately familiar with the blend or the impetus behind the release of it and so forth. But obviously that's something that I've come to get a better understanding of and really appreciate the cigar for what it is. And it's been phenomenal. I mean, it's done very, very well. I mean, very well. Yeah. At the time, it was the one of the most successful launches in the history of General Cigars at the time. Even then, so
is that right?
It's the trajectory has just continued to elevate since then, especially with the change in the packaging. The blue tubos just kill it. We literally cannot keep enough of them in. And that cigar smokes a little bit different than the other blues, and that's actually the one I'm smoking now. It's the tubo version. It's my favorite in the blue. Yeah.
I want to say when we had you on before, we were smoking. Have we had you on? We did a Connecticut and also a
did the Royale.
Royale.
But we were talking about, I think we just that was about the time that a lot of the things were changing. I know with the Connecticut was the first, or maybe that's when you were in the store we were talking about it. But there were a lot of subtleties to the band and the artwork there. But you're absolutely right. So how do you explain to someone, I guess, if you have to, I'm sure you get this question or you have before, how is this cigar? First of all, how does it smoke so well? And also be, I don't say half the price, but you're 40% less as far as the suggested retail price of the blue line versus anything else. The red dot, obviously, which is just a red band now. You got the Royale, obviously, which you were going to be smoking. I think what's the box on your right shoulder there? You got the blue box.
My right shoulder?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the red dot here.
Red dot. That's the new red dot box.
That's the blue, and that's the M down here. So, yeah.
But, I mean, I guess that's the question, with this. And then if you could give us a bit of the blend on that. But, I mean, the blend is obviously it's a unique blend as well.
Yeah, it's no I don't know super double dog secret or anything like that. It's a pretty straightforward blend. It's decidedly more Central American, as I like to put it. The wrapper and binder are the same variety, Olancha San Agustin, which is our farms in the northern area of Honduras near the Guatemalan border, and that's important because it's actually our farms. So you're talking about. Take, for instance, the red dot over here. It's different on the screen. It's a Cameroon leaf grown in the Central African Republic, right? We've been partnered there for forever with the Mirfield family who grows that leaf there, and we import it. There's a lot of moving parts to it, the most expensive commercially available leaf on the planet, a lot of layers to it. That's significantly different than the leaf that we grow in our farms in Honduras, in a country where we have our largest and one of the largest cigar factories in the world in Honduras. So that alone just cuts down on just the material itself. And the whole point to it was every luxury brand has an entry product, so to speak. And I don't like to just call this an entry product. It is a terrific product on its own. You're talking Alonte San Agustin wrapper and binder. In the filler, you have Ometepe Island tobacco from Nicaragua. You have Piloto Cubano, which is a signature leaf throughout all of the Cohiba line. And you also have Hamastron Valley Honduran tobacco. So it's a great cigar, a great blend. I'm drinking it now with the bourbon. I can have it in morning with a cup of coffee. Solid. Get some earthiness. You get sort of this nice sort of subtle baked good spice to it. Just a solid cigar. But you know, it was meant to be something that would allow the brand to be a little bit more approachable from a price standpoint, and we're able to do that just because of how the materials are sourced.
It's interesting. I hadn't heard it explained quite that way before, and I think that's such good points, obviously, of when you're bringing it in as opposed to, you know, Cameroon. I know one of the times I think Ricky was on the show, he was talking about the fact that you know, you can't actually own the farms in that region.
No, the farms are they're literally thousands of small farms. Most of them are small family you know, houses where they have, you know, plots of land 20 by 30, you know, yards. I mean, it's you know, it's a Herculean effort to get wrapper out of that region, especially marshaling, you know, all of the you know, tobacco that's grown scattered throughout all of these thousands of small little farms. So it's a totally different animal as opposed to, again, growing in Honduras in farms that we own.
It's amazing. Yeah. And then is there any significance? I kind of feel like I know the answer to this, but is there any significance to the color blue for this, or is this just part of the marketing as far as going from, like, Red Dot was originally Red Dot, but it was, now you have a red, it's still called Red Dot, but it's a red band on there. You have the Cohiba Black was already established line for you guys.
Yeah, you know, that's a good question, and I honestly can't tell you that. I can't tell you the story behind exactly why it was called blue. But that's something I should find out. The problem is a few of the people that were involved in the development project are not here anymore. But I'll see what maybe Rick, you were around. Maybe you know. I don't know. Do you know?
I feel like that answer there was either going to be
I know. I don't know. Yeah.
I thought it was going to go the route of, like, you can't tell me because
there was.
And then you also went the route of some of the people that came up with it are no longer with you. So I was like, this is getting really like conspiracy theory real quick.
No, it's not that. It was just
sorry, I asked. We'll cut it out of the live feed here.
It's a large cigar company, and realignments happen and whatever. But yeah, I don't know the specific reasoning as to why it's called blue. I mean, I think it may have been just a situation where, you know, it's a cool name, just Cohiba Blue. You know.
I was a part. Sean, I was a part of a meeting. I remember they did 3 colors, and blue was the favorite color. I think they did a green and maybe a white one before your Connecticut white came out, and they all voted for the blue. So maybe there's another story deeper than that, but I remember so it's choice of these 3 colors. What do you think? And then
I'm pretty sure
match it up.
Pretty sure blue is is typically known as the most common favorite color for people, especially men. Yeah. I've been told this. I have no idea if this is true, but this is what's coming to my mind. So you can, you know, verify this with the scientists on the Cohiba team. But this is something that it's the most common favorite color is blue, and this is kind of your everyday person's Cohiba. So there you go. Put that in the brochure.
All right. There you go. There's your story. There's your story.
There's your story.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. I'll come up with another one after a few more drinks. But so where this falls in, medium bodied, correct? Would you classify this, Sean? Medium bodied. So it's right there in the middle. You've got obviously the Connecticut in the Cohiba line is a typically, it's not the most mild Connecticut by any means. 5 country blend on Connecticut. So you've got more of a mild to medium. This is medium. The Red Dot's a different type of medium bodied. You got the Black, you got the Royale, you see your M back there, which I'm extremely jealous because that's a fantastic cigar you didn't make enough of, but you've got some other, what's that?
I said, thank you. And I'm sorry.
I got to smoke one. I was happy about it, but, and you got some other great ones as well, obviously with like the more limited, the Weller that you just did. Yeah, the Nicaragua. You have the what is it? You got
Macazar.
Yep, and then you have
and Weller, which
got the Weller, and I'm thinking Spectre.
Spectre, yeah,
which is another limited edition that you sell out right away of. Yeah, so it's cool to see that this is coming in not only at a lower price point, but right there, kind of the middle of the portfolio as far as body, but a unique taste. So I like it a lot. What do you think, Nate?
I've always enjoyed this cigar. When it first came out, at that point my experiences were with Cohiba Black and the Cohiba Red Dot. So when this came out, I was like, wow, this actually came across a little bit milder than those two blends. Obviously milder than the Black, but it came across a little bit milder than that Cameroon on the Red Dot, which I love Cameroon wrapper. But also when it came out at that price point, it made it very easy to sell Cohiba to someone who had never had Cohiba because of the price point.
Right.
This made it a lot easier to actually get them into that market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I just had Grant, one of our listeners. We just lost Ricky for a little bit. Hopefully he pops back on, but they were buying into what I was saying about the Cohiba Blue, by the way, the color. Sends me a link to I don't even know. This is a website here. True Colors breakdown of color preferences by gender, even. And according to this, without going into the sources of this, but 57% of the male participants said blue was their favorite color, which was obviously the majority. In the female participants, again, the majority at 35% of the participants, blue was the favorite color.
Interesting. All right, there you go.
And thank you, Grant, for doing the fact checking on that, because I thought I might be completely off on that. I mean,
no, you were right.
All right, good.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue. Yeah, I mean, so again, I identify with this cigar in so many ways.
Well, what I've really enjoyed about how this cigar has changed over the 4 years that it's been out, and this is, if I remember correctly from the last time Sean was on, the big part to Sean. So originally the original Cohiba with that Cameroon was kind of that soft yellow or off-white color with the Cohiba name. The Cohiba Black was just the black band with Cohiba on it. The blue was the same thing. It was a blue band with the word Cohiba in white. And Sean then comes out with the Connecticut, and it has this gorgeous, shiny, big white band, which looked completely different than every other Cohiba band. Yeah. Like most of the Cohiba bands at that time, they were just very basic. And then that Connecticut, it really popped. And they then changed the bands on the Red Dot, the Blue, the Black, to where they all now have that same appearance, just the color going with the blend. And it kind of
that was the whole idea behind when we were releasing Connecticut. We knew there was time to do a packaging refresh, so we figured the Connecticut could introduce the new box design and the new band design. And there's just some subtleties, with the sort of sort of pattern in the flat tones of the band and so forth, and a little bit more pop, a little bit of detail in the actual foil. If you really look close, there's actually wording in there. So just these little subtleties. But yeah, Connecticut, part of the mission for Connecticut was to introduce the Connecticut, but also usher in the new packaging for all of the core stuff.
So that was the plan all along with marketing that Connecticut. Like, you specifically wanted to have that band for the Connecticut because you were going to change the bands on the other blends.
Yeah. Now you say you. It's not like I sat alone in my fiefdom and said, okay, off with all this old packaging. Let's change it. It was a collaborative effort. We had a great agency that came up with the new stuff, but we collectively.
Was it your initial idea to do that, or did that come from somewhere else?
Well, there have been talk, from the time I came on board, probably predating me actually, to change the packaging for the core stuff, and I guess one of the first orders of business when I came on board was myself and the previous senior brand manager, Andres. Miss him. Love Matt. Love my dude Matt. Love him as well. But we spent a lot of time, going over packaging designs, flying out to Seattle to meet with the agency there, and deciding on, okay, what should this look like? You know, what you see is what we ended up with. And, you know, it had to be, you know, we didn't want packaging design that was going to, you know, be, you know, overly expensive. But we certainly wanted to be updated, you know, more premium across the board. But also we wanted it to offer some symmetry so that, you know, consumers new to the brand can kind of walk in and navigate the range of the product pretty easily, because, you know, there's some linkages between the packaging, and also offer our retailers the opportunity to really reset the packaging in the humidor so that it flowed better as well. Yeah, so the mission was, yeah, it's time to do this. They've been talking about it, you know, so we did it, more or less.
I really love the new boxes as well, because they stand out a little bit more. You know, a little shinier box, but also the little clasp or latch on the box with that little red jewel in it. That's just a great little detail. But you know, you're talking about not wanting to make the packaging too expensive. It's Cohiba. Like, if you go to any retailer and like, hey, how much does a Cohiba cost? They're going to be like, oh, it's going to cost you between $15 and $30 probably. And so I think you need a packaging that expresses that. And, you know, this is not your plain wood cedar box. Like, no, this is going to pop on the shelves. And if someone wants to buy a box, like, there's a story, because they're going to someone's going to see the box without even seeing the cigar. Just looking at the box, they're going to go, oh, wow, that looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. Packaging is important. It definitely is. So we just didn't, you know, it didn't need to be over the top. Also, understand that we were going to be doing more in the way of special releases, which would allow us to sort of, you know, stretch out a little bit on packaging and do some more kind of out there things. We wanted the core stuff to really, you know, be able to sort of hold its own, and again, just offer some symmetry across the brands. And it's been, the response has been great. My biggest worry was actually with the red dot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we talk about the M and Weller and Spectre and all these other things. The lion's share of what we sell is still the red dot, the Cameroon. And you know, you just never know, man. You know, if you're going to lose a few of the, you know, the long-standing supporters who just maybe can't find it or not think it's the same cigar. And you always get that age-old, you know, debate. Oh, well, you know, they changed the packaging. It's not the same cigar. It's not the same blend. And, you know, we want to make sure that people, you know, we wouldn't be foolish enough to, you know, it's not Coke going to the new Coke. You know, it's like we didn't touch the blend on the red dot. We wanted to make sure it was the same, but we also didn't want to have a disconnect from the long-standing supporters of the brand, especially when it comes to the tubo. I mean, everybody was used to seeing that the brown box with the silver tube sitting in the red encasement, and now we went to, you know, the red tube sitting in the red encasement and the red band. So we wanted to make sure that we connected the dots with the consumer, and luckily we have.
Well, I think there is not necessarily a comparison, but I think, you know, when you look at the Cohiba name and what it's known for, I mean, again, you know, the old packaging, just to comment on that a little bit further, it was very traditional. It was very subtle. It was, the cigar talks for itself. You know what I mean? You have this really kind of old world type of a simplicity to it. Well, while you guys were doing that, before you were, you know, obviously even before you were part of the Cohiba brand, but I see it really even blossoming even further with your expressions coming across and what you can kind of see, what your influence, and obviously with the team behind you, is that even the Cuban Cohibas, you look at some of their packaging now, you look at some of their bands, you look at all the other stuff on the American side and all, you know, Dominican, Honduras, and Nicaraguan packaging. There's a few that are still out there that are very, very subtle. Like, I think of a couple other brands, like one that really hasn't gone too crazy with their core products would be Tatuaje, Pete Johnson. You know, he's got that brown label, kept it very, very basic, and it's worked for him.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of the humidors out there are carrying these, and even if like some of the like well-known ones like Opus X with Fuente, they made it a very elaborate band, but they made it elegant. You guys have done kind of an in-between. You've kept it very basic at first glance. The packaging, like the boxes behind you, yeah, there's a little bit of the shine to it, a little bit of a pop to it, the bold colors of some of them. But obviously, I think with the red dot, and that's why I asked you which box that was behind you, the red dot, you kept it the traditional wood as opposed to doing this just bold red box that I think may have turned.
Yeah, that would have been, a bridge too far. That would have been over the top for it. So
yeah. But I think on the black was already named the black. The blue is newer. The Connecticut, the white is very elegant. But I think that red, it would have come across a little bit too bold of a switch, and you might have lost a few of those people. Because I agree with you. Anytime you do some repackaging or rebranding, it's the first thing that in a lot of industries, but the cigar industry, we see it all the time from the retail side, is that it just takes a lot of pushing to reiterate that no, it's the same cigar, same tobacco, same factory, same rollers. And it's like because it looks different, it tastes different in the mind, and it really is hard to make those two senses work together.
Yep.
With that being said, and I'm not quite on the cigar, but Ricky, with the Zocalo, let's touch on this a little bit, and then we'll do some ratings here on how the blue pairs with the Maker's Mark, and then we're gonna save it and we're gonna touch it a little bit with the Zocalo after that. And I'm getting some shit from some of the listeners right now that apparently what's lingering from, I don't know, my fake Chicago accent of saying Zocalo is saying that my pronunciation is off. How do you say
Zokolo? Zokolo?
Yeah, I don't
Zokolo.
say it like that.
Yeah. So that is the term that they use in the factories in Mexico. Yeah. So
I am saying it wrong. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you.
Tomato. Don't worry about it.
Praline,
as long as you say, yeah, exactly. As long as you say that cigar that CAO makes starts with a Z. What is that? Okay, Zokolo. Okay, we can do that.
As long as it's
Zokolo. Yeah, that definitely looks right now. Yeah. Yeah, I was making way too much emphasis on the A there. I like the way it's there. I'm going to keep saying it that way.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, nobody's going to be upset, man.
All right. So this cigar, like we mentioned before, it was a limited release, if you will. You were kind of testing the waters. I kind of look at these two as, they were both interesting projects for the Cohiba brand and now the CAO brand. Is that when you're doing a new blend, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, I remember one thing that stands out, Rick, when you were on at one of the shows, when you were putting out a new blend, you had to have at least enough tobacco for, I think it was 900,000 cigars.
For sure.
Does that sound right?
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
So was that an issue here with this?
No, for that tobacco, not at all. So we knew that we had access to the tobacco, that we wanted to use that tobacco. What project and what company will, fit that project or the tobacco well? And so the higher end guys got together and say, you know what, we're going to kind of seek this tobacco out and then feed it to CAO. And so when we got that wrapper, we knew that we liked it, we want to use it, but we don't know if the fans will accept it. So why not just kind of sneak it out, one size, test the market, test the waters, and see the response back to that blend.
Okay. And this was not the original packaging as far as the especially the bands on that. You had a different band on it. And now it gives it a little bit more of the world collection.
Exactly. So when we again there, for sure. So when we, got the tobacco, where's it fit? What box? So again, knowing about CAO, we have 4 boxes: classics, new age, world, and flavors. And so we wanted to do something for world and not, why not highlight Mexico? And so that's exactly the reason we chose the world line to match these cigars up and kind of showcase the band that presents the colors of the flags of that country. So that's the reason we chose Zocalo in Mexico to work in the box called World for us.
And what's the wrapper from Mexico? Is it a San Andres? Is it
San Andres? And then the blend is very simple. The binder is Nicaragua, and all the fillers are Nicaragua. And so we really want to concentrate on the flavor of that wrapper. So we chose tobaccos from Nicaragua that we can kind of downplay and not wake up and be very important to that blend. We want some of the flavor from that blend, but we want to, highlight really the wrapper flavor. So those are the reasons that we didn't get too crazy on multiple countries for the blend.
I definitely like the new band, because I believe the original band was kind of a soft yellow and red red lettering. I like that you implemented the colors of the Mexican flag. And is that supposed to, the triangles that are on it, is that supposed to be like Aztec type of look to it? Or
exactly. We're trying to, when you say Zokolo, what that is the kind of the area that on the weekend you go with your merchandise to sell, vegetables, meat, T-shirts, whatever. That's a Zokolo. So your town square on the weekends open up to this marketing and situation, and that's called a Zokolo. And so we wanted to kind of, go back without saying what this is, and because you only have so much time that you can spend on telling the story behind the band. So kind of that situation. But, this is a great place. Where did the name Zokolo come from? So we knew
I can't
that
say it right, so obviously I don't know.
Yeah, so
it didn't come from South Boston, so Steve
don't ask me.
No, it didn't. So I was driving. I knew that we had this project on the back burner, and so now we have the wrapper. We have kind of the story. What's the name? So I was working with one of my favorite reps of all the time, Kenny Bourne, and he named the cigar. Jonathan. No, I was working with Jonathan Herron.
All right, now wait a second.
I was gonna throw Jonathan some shade.
Wow. I'm waiting for his comment at this point. He's watching the Braves game, of course, too. He said.
Yeah, but I was working with him, and I was saying that we have this wrapper from Mexico. We don't know what to call it. Do we kind of go after the Mexican, the wrestlers or something like that? He says, bro, Zokolo. What is that? The Times Square, and this is where everybody gathers when everything happens, or anything good or bad, or they want to sell something. So Zokolo was named by one of our great reps of General Cigar, and so now he's working with Forge. I miss him so much because I don't work with him as much as I used to, but he's a great guy. Really knows the cigar business inside and out. So if you ever have an opportunity to meet him, do go to one of his events. I would definitely go. If anything, it's just fun to watch him get drunk.
It is fun. Hey. And then so he did say funny guy. That's his comment right there for you. He is watching.
Well, I remember
if there's a drum set around, let him get on a drum set.
So I heard that. I think when you were on, Sean, and he was in the garage, we talked about that. That was what was that Vegas, or was that the national sales meeting, or what was that?
That was in Nashville, right?
In New Orleans. That was in New Orleans. National
Yeah.
We got on the Frenchman Street, man, and which is that's a Frenchman Street is Bourbon Street for the locals. At least it used to be, but now the tourists have found it. But it's just lined with all this live music and just people teaming in and out, and we took over a bar there, and Herring got on stage and took over the drum set, man, and just jammed out dude.
I thought his career was over the minute he sat there. I thought, bro, he's drunk. He's there. Oh my God! And he started to play, and everybody's jaw dropped, and it was unbelievable how talented this guy is.
Yeah, I was like, what is it, John Bonham? I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Wasn't the big boss was there too, and basically said that he had to do it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Regis was there.
Regis was there, and he said that from now on, this is what you do at our meetings. Or
Rick, do you remember what Andres said? What Andres told him? Do you remember? Andres goes to him. Everybody's feeling pretty good now. This is pretty late. We've been partying for a while. Andres goes to him and says, "Earlier, I thought you were a piece of shit. but now you are a god.
I hope John's still listening out there.
Yeah, you know what?
We're
Enough
talking
of
about
him.
you.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah,
Enough
he's
of
got
him.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
This
think
is all I can say to this one. There you go. That's all he's got right there.
I think the Zocalo went through kind of the same thing. We were talking a little bit about Cohiba when it talked about changing the bands, and because there was a gentleman earlier this year that came into the shop, and he was buying a bunch of cigars, and then just sit down talking to him, he mentioned, he's like, CAO had this cigar, this Mexican wrapper on it. I think it was Zocalo. That's how he had said it.
That's how I say it.
Yeah.
So.
And
he probably has a shopper of the tinderbox at Easton.
And,
heard me say it.
And he's like, I have not been able to find that cigar since. And I'm like, we have it on the shelf. They just changed the packaging.
Yeah, they quit the Zocalo. We have the Zokolo now.
Yeah. And he's like, are you kidding me? And I go, I'm like, no, this is what the band looks like now. And he's like, give me like 8 of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is, one of the, the launches that we knew, we're excited about. Every manufacturer, when they introduce a cigar, you don't realize how hard to bring that cigar to the market, and how many tears, how many laughters, how many praying to God this is going to work and all that. And you don't know, but you know in your heart you have something special, and something that you want to offer your fan base, and it's up to them to accept that. And so we were very pleased with the acceptance of Zokolo in the market. It's cigars is doing very well for us, like Bones and all these, but packaging changes can happen, and you can do it right, but it can also do it wrong. And so we have fortunately did 3 launches of old presentations, and it works for us. Like the new Zokolo presentation worked for us. The Sopranos going to Consigliere worked for us. The new Vision repackage, reband worked for us. So you can do it, but it's very scary to do that kind of the change without changing the blend.
Yeah. And you said this has been a successful relaunch of this, correct? We talked about the success of the Cohiba Blue. So for you, Rick, this is something that, obviously I think of the world blends, the Brasilia is still the top seller. Is that correct? Or is this taking some of the market share from other blends?
Yeah, no, that's number 1. No.
Yeah.
No, you know what? No, we don't think so, because when we look at the board, what we don't want to do is give you something like Brasilia, something like Colombia, something like Italia. We want to do something new. So I don't think they fight with each other. If anything, they'll purchase their Brasilia and a Zocolo. They don't say, well, I'm now purchasing only Zocolo, no more of the Brasilia.
Yeah, that's
Brasilia,
a trick, man. That's a trick, launching new cigars.
It is
because there's not an infinite amount of space in the humidor.
Right.
So something has to give, and hopefully you're not cannibalizing your own, line. That's a tricky thing, man.
Have you guys dealt with that at all in some of your ventures here with new blends? Have you seen any of that stuff? I know when you guys talk with sales, when you look at the numbers and everything like that. Yeah. I mean, again, not only did you guys both go through, obviously some repackaging on some of the stuff, especially you, Sean. But when you do that, I mean, have you experienced that part of it? Like when the blue came out or something else came out, that all of a sudden the numbers as far as this went down, but this went way up, or is that something you haven't had to deal with because of the diversity of the portfolios?
I haven't seen it as much with Cohiba, but it's a little bit different. Cohiba doesn't have as big a range as CAO does.
Yeah.
And that's something I really caution against. So we've been pretty strategic, and obviously Royale was a full-time launch, and prior to that we had Connecticut. But both of those things were kind of things that we needed. Clearly, we didn't have a Connecticut shade cigar in the Cohiba range. So that one made sense, and I felt good that we weren't going to cannibalize anything else on the shelves, because there's nothing else that we had like it. Royale was kind of the same thing. as far as Maduros go, it was really only the Cohiba Black. I mean, Cohiba Nicaragua is an Oscuro wrapper. So I felt pretty comfortable that we can put out a Maduro, with a few sort of considerations in mind. It's decidedly more Nicaraguan with the Jalapa Valley wrapper. You have Jalapa and Estelina filler, so it's more of a muscular Nicaraguan blend. It's fuller than the black, a little bit more spice. So, if a guy really likes the black, which I really like that blend, it's more just a hair above medium, and it's more black coffee, bitter chocolate, smoky and rich. Not much of the way being spice forward. Royale has a little bit more spice. It plays in that Nicaraguan profile, much more so than the black does. Obviously, the black is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. So I didn't feel like we were going to be stepping on each other. Then after that, we really had fun with some special releases. So we haven't had to deal with that as much, but it's always a concern,
Do you find, just this is a kind of a follow-up question on that, when you do your special releases, and Rick, you've had a couple of them as well, but with this Cohiba line, obviously, like, you have a smaller overall portfolio with the Cohiba name on it, and you're talking about even now going forward, we might see another Cohiba staple in the portfolio, but you've got projects going on the limited release. Just from a consumer standpoint, just a curiosity, really, do you see that on the business side when you guys are doing your numbers, when you release something with the Cohiba name on it that's a limited, like the Spectre, the M, for example, as well? Do you see a downtick on a short term on some of your staples as far as that goes, or is it just an addition to it typically?
It's the opposite, because what we get is we get there are people that there are people who are fans maybe of Titan de Bronze, right? Yeah. And hadn't really rocked hard in the Cohiba range of products. So they come in and they want to try the M, and they get the M, but they're like, let me try some of this stuff maybe I haven't revisited in a while. So you get in Weller was great, because it really opened up the category even more, because we got people who were maybe bigger bourbon fans or Weller fans, who were maybe more occasional cigar smokers, who had heard about Cohiba but hadn't really jumped into cigars a lot at all, let alone in Cohiba, who kind of we excuse me, expanded the audience a little bit. So when you do these special releases, what I found is that people come in, kicking the tires, and they want to try the new stuff. But while I'm here, wow, I didn't know about the Nicaragua, or look at this box of Royale. What is so you get more curiosity around the brand, and we've had a lot of success. Now, with that being said, you can't live on special releases. But I'm very, 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 very judicious as it relates to putting out regular production stuff that's going to have to live in the humidor, in perpetuity, that our reps are going to have to sell in the mix with all the other stuff. And Rick is releasing stuff, and Laura with Macanudo is releasing stuff. So it has to be a fine calculation as to when you do that. But for us, it's pretty simple. It's look at where we have a blind spot. And the way our category is laid out as far as Cohiba, I mean, we have classic Honduran profiles. We have good footprint in the Nicaraguan profile now with the Cohiba Nicaragua, with the advent of the Cohiba Royale. We have the best of the tobacco growing here in the U.S. with the Connecticut broadleaf that's on the black. The best Cameroon on the red dot. So I look from growing regions and say, okay, do we have opportunity to really do something different, and not because the last thing you want to do is shoot yourself in the foot and compete against something in your own line. So we will be putting out a full line release probably next year, but we're very cautious about that.
Do you know, not to give anything away, do you know where it's going to fall as far as mild, medium, full body with that? Well, or that is something you have to kill us for.
Yeah, no, it won't be mild. I think we're pretty solid in that space with the Connecticut and with the blue, which those are more mild medium. We don't have anything that's very mild. I I mean, I think overall, as far as you think of a luxury cigar brand, for the most part, we're medium plus to solid full now with the Royale, and that's kind of the space that we play in. So it's not going to be anything that's going to be geared around strength or body. It's really going to be flavor profile, nuance, and trying to attract different palates to the brand.
And not to just because we have you on, we're talking cigars right now. We'll touch on this whiskey briefly. This is what we do for those that are listening, that are maybe listening for the Maker's Mark 101. When we've got the talent and the knowledge and the guests like these two, it's just the same as when we had like Ann on last week from Watershed, and we had Aaron on from Watershed. It's like we get a little bit more bourbon heavy with those guys. We're going to get a little bit more cigar heavy with these guys. With that, just a couple notes for those that there is a little bit of a segue into the bourbon side. You had the Weller. We've touched on the Weller Cohiba, or the Cohiba Weller, if you will, and that was it's all gone. I mean, you guys sold out of that. Yep, call it.
Yeah.
That one you blended specifically for Weller 12, if I'm not mistaken.
That I'm not going to say specifically, but that was sort of the guidepost, so to speak. But I mean, even with that, I mean, just not even just Weller. Like earlier, I was drinking some Blanton, so just the weeded bourbons in general.
That's what, and that's how I've explained that to people. Is that I think it goes well, like on its own. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it goes well with weeded bourbons in general. I think it was a nice smoke with that. Yeah.
That was sort of the push behind it. I mean, I wanted something that, it's a Maduro, but it really has like a silky profile on the palate. Not overpowering. You get that nice sort of creamy cocoa bottom to it, but it's a silkier profile. Not very spice forward. Didn't want to overpower, the sort of more nuanced nature of the weeded bourbons.
And if I'm not, again, mistaken here, I've heard rumor that there will be a second iteration of the Weller project. Is that correct? And this time around, you have been experimenting even further with the team at Buffalo Trace.
Literally, as I speak, we have Weller bourbon barrels in the DR, and we're cooking up some good stuff. Yes.
Are you going to be using those barrels to age
specific
tobacco in that barrel, or the whole cigar?
No, not the whole cigar.
Okay,
no, not the whole cigar. It's going to be specific tobacco within the barrel. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Is that a 2022 release, or is that pushed to 2023? I mean, how long are we looking for
2022,
that?
2022. 2022. It should be late spring, maybe early summer, 2022.
And just because we have a lot of bourbon listeners out there, has there been any talk with people at Buffalo Trace? And I know they've worked with other cigar companies in the past. We've had guests on that have great friendships with them and great business partnerships with them. Do you see anything? Have you guys talked about anything where there will be some sort of a Weller release that is a Cohiba on the bottle, as far as like a cigar type of because we had the guys from Starlight Distillery from Indiana on not too long ago, and we're going to be featuring them again. It's a many generation family in Indiana doing this as far as the distillery, along with the winery. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Starlight, but they've got a cigar. What's the cigar blend basically that just got released? Is that part of a project that you guys might be working on, or can you not tell us, or did it know?
No, I mean, I can be transparent about that. That's not currently in the mix. I mean, we were pretty succinct in how we laid out the 3-year plan with the Weller by Cohiba cigar. But man, that would be awesome. But there's no immediate plans to spirit from the BT distillery for Cohiba.
I could see them. I mean, obviously, for anyone out there, obviously it's tough in most states to be able to get a lot of the Buffalo Trace products. There is such a high demand to that. You guys have done a great job with Cohiba. That obviously that you've made it readily available. The limited ones go quickly, but as far as your regular ones, they're out there. So it'd be interesting to see if you guys do at some point, along with some other brands. But I mean, you guys have this obviously this connection with the actual branding of Weller. You have the W on there. It'd be interesting to see Cohiba on a cigar blend, as far as what they're trying to do. On the flip side of that is say, all right, you're blending for us. Let us see if we can get a couple barrels or whatever, a small batch with something that we think is going to really go well with said cigar as well. And I think that'd be a cool collaboration. That'd be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun for you too, being a bourbon guy. You know what I mean?
Listen, man, I would love that. I would love that. Not currently on the table, but you never know. But that would be dope. Yeah.
Any excuse to try some limited bourbon barrels. Right?
Mark it down now. I see this coming in the next probably 3 to 5 years. They're going to see it. It's going to happen. You heard it here first. There's no validity behind it, but yeah, you heard it here first. So we'll take your bets now.
All right, guys. I'm going from this. This to this.
Looks like Angel's Envy. Is that
Burning? Went from Angel's Envy to Burning Shade.
Now you're going Angels.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a great one. All right, so let's round out part one here. We've talked about this, and then we'll get into the topic, and I'm going to be switching over to the Zokolo. Is that right?
There you go.
Yeah. Look at you.
I don't like it. It hurts when I say it like that. When
you actually have to like pause and think about it.
Real quick, I want to say Austin is a listener and supporter of the podcast, big guy in the bourbon industry as well here, especially in Ohio. If you make it, they will come. That's aimed towards you and Weller there, Sean, just so you know. You already had someone buying something.
Duly noted, man. Duly noted.
Austin will buy it.
Austin's definitely going to buy a box of cigars and as many of the bottles he can find.
Yeah.
But let's get into the second part here as far as the last part of part one. You guys, I think we did this when you both were a part of this, but we're going to rate this. And Rick, in part two, I'm going to kind of bounce back to this just briefly. I'll interrupt part two's topic at some point to do a quick pairing on the rating of the Zokolo.
Okay.
It's really hard. It really is hard.
Yeah, no, it sounds great.
So I'll rate the Zocalo, and you guys can rate the Zokolo. But with this, we're going to do the Cohiba Blue. So the whiskey we're drinking. So, and you guys can talk about how it pairs, what you guys think of your whiskeys, just to give everyone a little bit of a side note of what you're drinking, because I think that's always more information, the better. Nate and I are drinking the Maker's Mark 101. In yours, just give a brief, if you would, Nate, a little bit of the information about this. Everyone knows Makers. We've done Makers before, but just a little bit about this. So you do an out of 10 rating with the whiskey, out of 10 rating with the cigar, and out of 10 rating with the pairing. So I want Nate to start with what we're actually featuring with the Makers right now, Makers 101 and the Cohiba Blue. And then I'll kick it to Sean, since you're smoking the Cohiba Blue, and how it pairs with what you're drinking. And then Ricky, I'll go to you, and then I'll round it out here if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Nate, with that.
So the Maker's Mark 101, I'm going to give it a 7. Essentially, all this is regular Maker's Mark bottled at 101 proof. That's all it is. It's the same mash bill, 70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, and then 14% malted barley. So there's no rye. So and still the same, roughly 6-year age as the regular product. Literally the only difference was they upped it to 101 proof. Obviously you're going to get a little bit lower yield with that, but comes with a slightly higher price point as well. Regular Makers in the state of Ohio, $26. This one's $38. So at $38, it's not a bad bottle.
And you breeze over the 6 years. Like a lot of people just breeze over that, you know what I mean? As far as that goes, with Maker's Mark, it's kind of like it's thrown in that category with some of the staple, kind of dive bar / it's always available / mixers / you drink it on the rocks.
Well, and one of the things with this, even though hardcore Maker's Mark fans aren't going to do this, with this being 101 proof, it actually opens the door for you to use this more in a cocktail. Because it's going to stand up a little bit more to some of those mixers that you might put in a cocktail, like an old fashioned or Manhattan, something like that. Yeah. Being 101 proof, it's going to stand up to that a little bit more. I kind of think they were directing that marketing at like Wild Turkey.
Yeah, yeah.
And for anyone who didn't know, Maker's Mark is a Beam Suntory brand. So yeah, it's just regular Maker's Mark at 101 proof.
It says it right on the side of the box in bold letter, our signature red winter wheat bourbon whiskey batched for a higher proof, enhancing natural notes of caramel, vanilla, and fruit.
Yeah.
So there's no real like marketing, behind it to like kind of really mask what it is. Exactly what you said. They're saying it too as well.
Yeah, and this has only been out for just a little over 2 years. This came out July 3rd of 2019.
All right.
So
and you gave that a 7.
I gave it a 7. Yes.
Cohiba Blue.
The Cohiba Blue, just in the in the Cohiba name, I give the Cohiba Blue a 7 as well. It's a little bit lighter than what I normally like to smoke, but like I love the Connecticut blend just because of the complexity. But I also love Cameroon wrapper. The red dot.
7 objective or the 7 based on other Cohibas?
Both.
7 based on the fact that I'm on the other side of the screen from him. Damn it.
That's what I was. I'm you're kind of like he's got the we have this, and I don't know if he was like this for you guys, but he's got the nickname of the Russian judge. If you think about like the '80s Olympics.
But no, I mean,
love that, bro. I love that. Really,
it's no
it can't
like
be all 9s. It can't be all 9s.
But like,
wait till he races
9 today.
CAO.
But,
yeah, I don't think Ricky saw the episode when we did the Columbia.
Right. Oh my god!
But no, I like the cigar. It's a solid.
Sean will never be on the podcast. Sean, I'll just not have Nate on when you're on next time.
So listen. I used to own a restaurant in New Orleans, and I hired a guy from another restaurant to manage the place because I didn't know much about restauranting, right?
Yeah.
And Jared Wall is his name. And Jared would always say every day it was a breakfast and lunch place, and he's like, "Listen, says we need to strive to be consistently a 7." I'm thinking 7, like really? He's like, "Listen, man, if the atmosphere is right, the service is good, and you can provide a solid 7 every day at a breakfast and lunch spot, people will come in droves, day in, day out. I mean, because you're not going to knock it out of the park every day, right? But people can feel comfortable that they're getting good value, getting a good experience and a good product consistently. You're doing okay. So,
which I guess that falls into your, lower price point Cohiba. That is what you're looking. You're looking for the consistency. You're looking to get them in for, an everyday smoke.
Yeah, and I mean I think this cigar does exactly what they were trying to accomplish. They're trying to introduce people into that Cohiba brand without necessarily the Cohiba price.
Fair.
They're not going after, $16 to $30. And, I also have to be fair as well when I do compare this to other Cohibas, like the Royale, like that would be my highest rated Cohiba. I absolutely love that cigar.
Between that and the Connecticut for me, right?
Yeah, the Connecticut, like I love the Connecticut because I also do like milder cigars. What I love about the Connecticut is the complexity and being that 5-country blend. Like I have to.
I'm sorry, you didn't like the Columbia, and you're saying that you like mild cigars?
Occasionally, yes.
Okay.
Give it to him, Ricky. Come on.
Occasionally, I do like milder cigars.
Okay.
My typical go-to is medium to full body, but I do on occasion like a milder cigar, especially. To start
I do
the day.
I do too.
Rick and Sean, thanks for the last time you've been on the podcast. We appreciate you.
And I'm fired.
It's been great.
Yeah. I'm gonna just pan the camera away from Nate here. All right, go. You had 2 7s. All right, so you had 2 7s. So the makers won't talk to us again. Sean is never on the show again. How about the pairing?
I'm gonna give the pairing an 8.
Oh,
because even though this is 101 proof, it doesn't overpower the flavor of the cigar. The cigar's got enough behind it to stand up to this whiskey, and I think it's because. Like on this whiskey, I get more of that oak and vanilla. I don't get those really dark fruit notes or that deep caramel notes to it. I think something like that would overpower. If this was one of the cask strengths, stuff that was like 115, 125 proof, I think that would overpower this cigar. But at 101, it's just, I think amping up the flavor of Maker's Mark a little bit more. I think it does kind of hide a little bit of that red wheat flavor, but this cigar is not a mild cigar. It's still got some body and depth to it. So they do actually stand up to one another.
All right.
Wow.
Sean.
Good save.
Kick save and a beauty.
This is live. I can't edit this out. Sean, to you, what were you sipping on again?
I am drinking the Michter's small batch sour mash.
Nice. Michter's got some great stuff.
Yeah.
So with the cigar, I love this for those that are listening at this point. I love the fact that we have these guys on, because these are the guys that this is a huge part of their life. This is their livelihood. This is their you look at some of their social media stuff. It's Sean, I think you're Sean Williams Cohiba, is that right, on Instagram?
Sean Williams _Cohiba.
_Cohiba. So, I mean, this is something that, being the face of these brands, to ask you guys to rate your own blends that you stand behind. I love this, because I think that, knowing you guys, especially you two in the industry, you're honest. You're not going to obviously talk down upon it, because if you talk down upon a blend, you're going to be working behind the scenes to do something about it. So with the Cohiba Blue, give us a rating out of 10 being the best. If you would, Sean.
Really? Like that I have to do that too?
You don't have to. You're a guest. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules on this show. You can say whatever you want. You can curse however you want. You can, whatever you want to do.
I with good conscience, I can't just rate my own cigar. I think that'd be in poor form. I will say this. No, what specific blue are you smoking? Like what?
The Toro.
Toro.
Toro size.
So I am smoking, as I said, the blue tubo.
Mm-hmm. Which is what size?
It's a Robusto size.
Okay.
But it smokes just a little bit different out of this tube.
Oh,
something about this cigar.
Yes.
Yeah, the ring gauge of the cigar resting in this cedar line tube.
I was going to ask if it's cedar lined in the tube. I thought it was.
Yes. It gives it just a little bit more character, to be totally honest. So if Nate is saying it was a 7, if he was smoking the same cigar that I had, I'm exceedingly confident it would be at least an 8, because it just smokes a little bit richer, man.
Okay.
So
again, guys, I think when you're rating cigars, is what are you rating is the cigar itself, the body,
right,
the flavor, and all that. So if you say this is 7 or 8 or 9 out of Cohiba, that's hard. But if you say, or if you're going to smoke a mild to medium bodied cigar, that would be rated a little bit higher than if you're rating the entire line. So, that blue would kind of go down if you're rating it compared to all the lines. So it's hard to rate a cigar, a mild cigar smoker, rating a full body cigar. He's going to say, or I'll give you a fucking, a 3. But a full-body cigar smoker will give it a 9. And somewhere between that is the true number of everybody can enjoy that cigar. Yeah. Because if you look at flathead line, we have 5 sizes right now. If you ask me what represents flathead to you, it's not the highest rating cigar called the 6x60.
Right.
95 rating. If you ask me, which one do you want me to smoke to find out which, the line is going to be the spark plug, the little cigar. Yeah. Because I think, so I agree with Sean, that size difference really plays a lot of, effect to your enjoyment of that cigar.
Well, I'll say this too, is that one of the things I like about the way that we do this on this is not your magazine rating. This isn't even some of your blogs or the trusted websites in the industry. This isn't a blind taste test. This is not something that, we got cigars lined up in front of us and then just hand me this cigar, which again, we didn't even talk about this yet. And I'll talk about a little bit of the sheen on the wrapper leaf, the look of it, the construction, all that stuff. This isn't out of 10 points, this is construction. Out of 10 points, it's the appearance. Out of 10 points, it's this. This is a gut thing. This isn't a blind taste testing. It's like, what is this cigar? You don't know the price point. You don't know the brand. You don't know what factories. You don't know the blend. This, that is more of a true objective rating. You know what I mean? So, again, that, I think that's a great point, because when you bring up the Cohiba name, all of a sudden there's a difference of just overall understanding of what you might be smoking.
Exactly.
You know, and the price point. You know, this price coming in again, we have that knowledge. You're looking at what's the suggested retail. The Toro we sell, it's about $13.95 on the shelf. I think it comes in around 13 suggested retail around that price point. So a $13 cigar that has Cohiba on it. Just this is a side note. Versus the Royale, the 6x50 that we sell at the Tinderbox at Easton, that's a $29.99 cigar. So again, you're looking at that stuff too. So this is for those that this is the first time listening, because you guys are great fans of Rick or Sean. I think that's duly noted. Is that this is a kind of the feel of this show is, you know, again, you guys are cigar, you know, greats in the industry, but this is something that this is guys sitting around in a shop or sitting around in someone's garage. I know, Ricky, you do that a lot, sitting around, you know, with some of your friends and, hey, what do you smoke and what do you think of it? And this is more of a, you already know what it is, you know how it costs, you know, all that stuff. And it's more of that kind of a rating. So that being said, Sean, you won't give on an out of 10 rating, which I respect. Again, there are no rules on this show.
I will.
I know you will, Rick. But Sean, on the pairing, can you do that? How does the Cohiba Blue go with that Michter's that you're drinking out of 10?
I think the pairing is a 9. Really good
Nice.
pairing. The Michter Sour Mash, I like it with this cigar because it's not overpowering. I mean, you're talking less than 90 proof, I think like 86. And it's not like, I usually like stuff that's a little bit, not usually, I mean, I like this as well, but I smoke a lot of stuff that's maybe a little bit more smokier, more sort of a caramel, sort of, you know, underlaid to a little bit more viscous. This is a lighter mash. And I like the sort of, you know, baking spice, kind of nutmeggy subtlety you get from the blue. And this has some similarities to that. I mean, I don't know if it's I guess it's sort of like a nutmeggy, it's smooth, you know, again, just kind of light on the palate. It has a really great nose to it. So it's just, it pairs well with the body and the profile of the cigar. So it's the reason I pulled, when we said we're going to be smoking, I said, well, let me go to the, I had something else I was going to drink with the Royale. So I pulled this out specifically to pair with the cigar because it's something that really works well.
Yeah. And obviously with the two different blends between the Blue and the Royale, obviously that's going to have a totally different profile, different characteristics. And obviously, you know, pairing wise, that, you know, you know what you're talking about there. You know, Rick, with you've smoked the Cohiba Blue.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, you know, let me say this: when you come to my garage, we have a humidor outside for everybody. There's only one line that represents Cohiba, Macanudo, La Gloria in my humidor, and the box that I showcase, the box that I want them to try for the first time for Cohiba, is the Blue. I don't know why. I love that cigar to introduce, you know, Cohiba to my friends and my fans that comes to the garage. And so this is the only box I have. And I have access to any box that Sean makes. And but that, to me, represents, if you love this, just wait until you taste this and this. I don't want to share the peak of the mountain and work you down. With me, if you love this, and I do love it because I have it in my garage, in my humidor. Nice. And so if you love that, wait until I share M with you, black with you, you know, white with you. This is going to blow your mind. So to me, it's a great cigar to offer somebody that has never smoked a Cohiba. And that's the reason I have it in my garage.
Nice. Nice. And so we'll get to, again, the Zokolo. I still struggle with it. I'm sorry. It's the whole night. It's going to be for weeks on end. I'm going to be saying this in front of the mirror just to make my face isn't making weird.
Macanudos, you know, I've heard everything.
It's not that bad. I just say the A the different way. I don't say Macanudo, all right? I hear it.
You know what? I introduced, when I first worked with the owner of Jello Cigar, Mr. Coleman, the first route, I was with the company for 2 weeks. And he wanted to ride with me only. And we got in my car together, and he lit up a cigar, of course, a Macanudo. He loved that cigar. And I said, oh, Macanudos is the best-selling cigar in my area. And he says, Really? So, do you do well with this cigar? What do you mean that cigar? Well, we don't sell noodles. What? What do you think? You're saying mac and noodles. It's
You were
not
actually
mac and
really
noodles.
saying that?
Yes. The owner of Gentleman Cigar, you correct me. We're not selling noodles. We're selling cigars, mac and noodle. Oh, okay.
Says the master blender from CAO Cigars.
Cow. Yeah. Cow, KO.
At least I don't hear Cohiba said wrong. I have heard Cohiba before, but I don't even. They're just making up letters at that point. But that's fair. That's fair. I do want to throw up real quick before I give my ratings here. Sean, we touched on this the last time you were on the show, so I don't know if Ray was watching that one, but he did have a question real quick because you have a passion and history in the watch industry as well. But Ray Cheshire from Vietnam says, "What is the watch that Sean is wearing right now?"
This is one of the watches from my line. This is Michoud and Irish is a watch line, and this is the Modus 84. It comes with a stainless steel band, but I have a NATO band on this particular watch, but the Modus 84. So
that's from your own line there.
Yeah.
And so how would people get a hold of that or be able to shop for it?
I think Jonathan just put it out.
I love that.
Jonathan just put it up.
I love that.
I'm not on here to sell watches, but it is Michoud Irish.com. That's MICHOUD Michoud Irish.com. So moving on.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening live in the comments, Jonathan Herring actually put it up there already. He already knows it's probably your brand. So there you go. I know you're not on here to sell that, it was a question. Okay.
Thank you.
No one's watching anyway, Sean. Don't worry about it.
Thank you for the compliment. Right? Thank you for the compliment. Thank you, Ray.
So there it is on the screen. All right. So I'm going to do my ratings here. The whiskey, the Makers 101. I think, again, knowing that this is a kind of an everyday whiskey, but amped up a little bit. I like the project that Maker's Mark did with this is, again, having your normal Maker's Mark is at 80 proof, I assume, right?
90.
To bump it up a little bit but to keep it the same type of their signature and to make this it's a little tougher to find, but it's more of your everyday still. They didn't go overboard. It's not necessarily this really coveted limited or anything like that, but it's something that they amped up a little bit because they saw a lot of the trend of the industry, I think, going towards 100 plus proof, right? So it's like, all right, we're not going to do a barrel strength. We're not going to do anything like that, but we're going to actually proof this a little higher with our signature. I'd give this an 8. I mean, I think this is something for, sub $40, especially compared to the rest of the industry right now. Again, it's kind of what we were talking about. And I was explaining how we do the ratings here. We know it's just not a blind taste testing. This is not like cup one that you're testing. We see the bottle. We know who it's coming from. We know the price. I think a solid 8 on this for something that you can get for less than $40, at least in the state of Ohio, probably a lot of other places as well. This is something that Maker's Mark is known for, but it gives it a little bit more body to it. I think what you were saying, you don't get they say enhancing the caramel, the vanilla, the fruit. I just get a fuller bodied version of Maker's Mark, which I actually like. It's not necessarily as sweet as the normal Maker's Mark because it does have a little bit more heat that's bringing more character to it. So I think you'll get that. So a lot of these bourbon drinkers or whiskey drinkers out there that are all for the barrel strength, all for the higher proof whiskeys, and you almost look down your nose at your Maker's Mark. If you haven't tried this because it says Maker's Mark on the bottle, this is something that you should probably add to your collection at your bar, maybe instead of the normal Maker's Mark, so that you can actually mix this into cocktails. You can have it for guests. If you're looking to not necessarily get into one of your tougher to find bottles that you have in your vast bourbon collection, this might be something that you could have on an everyday basis, which I like about that.
Do you like this more than regular Makers?
I do.
Me too.
I do. I think because it does have a little more characteristic to it, and it's not as sweet, and it's not, yeah. So I do like it. Makers, a lot of times I can drink it neat, but I usually do it on the rocks, or just like everyone else. Not everyone, but I mean, I had a bad Makers experience back when I first started drinking whiskey, and it was like Makers and Coke or something like that, and I drank too much of it, and I'm like, I'm never drinking Makers again, type thing.
I'm like sure there was a bar involved, though, that was probably an unsavory place that you shouldn't have been in, Mr. Crane.
Well, I was on a cruise boat, so they had limited options, and between that and the boat moving, on a stormy night, yeah, it didn't go well. I got other stories, but I digress on that. On the Cohiba Blue, again, kind of the way that we're rating it, I say that this would be a solid 8 for me. Again, from the Cohiba line, if we're going to go down that route, the Royale has blown me away. I will, if I've got my choice, and that's why I asked that question, honestly, about the market share in your own lines, is because I used to really love the Cohiba Black, and I still do. Love broadleaf. I'm a big broadleaf fan. It's interesting to smoke a broadleaf cigar with Dominican tobacco, but the way that the Cohiba Black, to me, the flavor profile over some of the everyday kind of ones like a Fuente that uses a broadleaf wrapper, or that's more common. I think the Cohiba Black, being readily available, is a fantastic cigar, and that was one I loved. I love the Cohiba Black Pequeños.
Oh wow!
I love that. I love that.
Right,
cigar.
kind of to your point, Rick, of the spark plug.
Cigar. Yeah.
When the spark plug came out with the flatheads, and we had our Smoking 10 event, and at the time it was Lee Whitaker was the rep, and he handed me like a case, like before it was even packaged, there was no bands on it. It was just like, hey, this is the new size of the spark or the flathead. He's like, hand it out to people. I was smoking one, and I was just like, I don't do this very often, but I was like, all right, I'll hand them out. I'm going to put 5 in my pocket, and if I need to hand those out, I will. But I was just like, it was just like, those things were just fantastic.
Yeah.
And the Cohiba Black Pequeños, I love that size because it's such a solid, smaller, quicker smoke. Is there a Royale Pequeño?
That's all about the broadleaf in that.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes over. I love
one of my favorite wrappers to work with.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, but that being said, like, that's why I asked, like the Royale and the Cohiba line, again, that's about a $4 to $5 price higher than the Black. If I'm in that $20 to $30 price range and I was going to pick between two Cohibas, I have shifted to, I will spend the extra few bucks to get the Royale if I'm picking between the two of them.
Me too.
And I think we see that a lot with our customers. The Blue, on the other hand, it's a completely different cigar. They're not, besides the name Cohiba, I don't see any similarities other than the construction of the cigar, which is a big factor. I give, again, an 8 on this, but again, even in the light in the garage, you see the sheen on the wrapper leaf. And that is something that at that $12 to $13 price point for a Toro, you're up against so many other cigars in a humidor and in the market. And to give that an 8, just looking at it, this looks like a more expensive cigar, in my opinion. This is a very choice wrapper leaf. Yes, there's some veins. Yes, it's not always like the smoothest, if you will, because there is a little bit, but it's not necessarily toothy. It's just this really sheen-covered, smooth, silky wrapper leaf over a very well-constructed cigar that the draw is always impeccable. That, in my experience, I'm sure someone out there has smoked a Cohiba Blue or even a Cohiba Royale, and you've had a
Cohiba. Yeah. It's not
always going to be a factor. There's always an option for that. So an 8 on a $12 to $13 cigar, especially with that Cohiba name. Having the Cohiba name, for me, rating it, again, based on what I was saying about how we rate cigars here, not being blind taste testing, I might rate this cigar higher if it was a blind taste testing, not knowing what it was, honestly. And that is the honest truth. Okay. And I think some people might agree with me on that if they have the opportunity to do that. The pairing, I'm gonna give it a 9 because, again, you're in that, it's not a budget pairing, but I think this is something that you've got an average priced whiskey, you've got an average priced cigar. I think this is something that if you can take two random bottle and cigars and piece them together and say, this is something that is an everyday purchase, not budget. It's not a high end thing. It's not limited release. It's not anything like that. To have them go well together. And again, like Nate was saying, with this, they don't really necessarily amp each other up, but at the same time, they don't take away from each other. So this is something I can taste the whiskey every sip. I can taste the cigar every puff. I really like it. I like the retrohale on the cigar. Mm-hmm. It does. You said baking spices when you're describing this cigar. I think it's something that when someone says, it's got a little bit of spice to it, they're like worried about like pepper spice, or they're worried about like a spiciness. And it's like, no, it's more that baking spices. It's food flavors. There's a nice subtlety to it. This pairing, I think, brings out a little bit, just slightly, of the two together, but really it's a more standalone pairing where you can enjoy both of them without neutralizing one or the other.
I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think this worked out. This worked out really well for us. Sorry, we didn't plan ahead too far where you guys are drinking the same thing and smoking the same thing. But I like this format with this. So, with that being said, guys, and we're going to keep going ahead here. Ray says, I see Price is suddenly back in the mix. Ray Cheshire's a loyal listener. Again, he lives in Vietnam, and he's just like, he doesn't like looking at the price of things. And, you know, I unfortunately have to in my life. So there you go.
Oh, no, the last 2 weeks, Ray's been trying to call us out on our authenticity of our ratings.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That being said, I'm going to round out part one. You guys, patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. Also on Venmo, Bourbon and BS. The support has been tremendous. Again, with the t-shirts, I'll throw that up on the screen here as well, the buyjack.com. So for those audio listeners, it's byjack.com/bourbon and BS for the shirts. And we've got many podcast shirts also on the same page. You've got some BS Cigar Company shirts, which are available as well, like the 2020 shirt, where it says, when the world hands you some BS, light it up. That was our 2020 shirt. And then also the Focus on the Silver Lining shirts are available. But I do want to focus on this week, next week, and then going into November, the first couple of weeks. I think I might extend it. There's a pink podcast shirt available. And you guys might, I know a couple people have ordered already. You might get it before I get to sport it on here with Nate on the show. But it's that bright pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And $30 for the shirt. $10 of that will go to charity. And I know a couple people really like that. So got a lot of likes and shares on the Bourbon and BS community page, also on social media, on Instagram. Hopefully those that are really enjoying that we're doing that will grab one of those shirts for themselves or for a gift. But you guys all look good in pink, whether or not you believe it. So check that out as well. And then Tinderbox at East in Columbus, Ohio, the Cohiba Blue is available. The Zokolo is available from CAO as well. Check that out. If you guys are not in the Columbus area, you can definitely order from Tinderbox at Easton or go to your local brick and mortar. And if you don't have that availability, they're available online as well at some of your major retailers as well. I always say shop local or support the brick and mortar, especially these days, not to take anything away from the big boys. And then also BS Cigar Company, like I said, they're available at Tinderbox. And then Altadis USA, Josh and the team over there have been big supporters of the podcast, as you guys have, Nick and Sean. We appreciate that. And at that point, I want to say cheers to part one. Cheers, boys. And we're going to take a quick intermission. If you're listening to the audio, just click the part two. For those listening live, share it, like it, review on Facebook, YouTube, and also all your podcast listeners out there as well on the apps, iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, and countless others. So, guys, check that out as well. Guys, cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Stay tuned for part two. Clear. You guys want to roll? You guys need to take a quick break? What do you need?
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back.
All right.
I'm going to change cigars and liquor.
There you go. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So let's put us up on the screen while they go do that. I'm really excited about the pink shirts. I'm sorry.
Dude, I saw them on the story.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
It's that with pink, right?
It's this with black letter. Yeah, it's pink. Yeah, absolutely.
I may need you to order me one. I'll give you cash.
Well, I'm trying to get two straight from him, but the John, who's our contact, he's actually getting married this weekend. So he's like, if you're, well, so this is the thing. This is an XL, but I think this is actually a large. So this is a tri-blend that he's got on. We've changed manufacturers. That's the next level. This is a Bella Canvas, and this is going to be basically the color. So this is an XL. If you guys are worried about size, let me get my XL in. I'll wear it on the show. This, I think, and I talked to John from By Jack. Yeah, so I think this was a size down type thing. And so I have an XL like that, and it does not fit like this.
Okay. You like that fit more?
Depends on whether or not I'm bloated that day or not, but yeah.
This one shows off his pecs and biceps
As long
a
as
little
the
bit more.
table's covering my gut, yeah.
Your gut, fuck off.
No, but we'll get them in. And I know, like I said, thank you to, I know Sean Anderson. He actually got that
Jody
pink one.
did too.
Jody did?
Yeah.
I didn't hear from her.
Yeah, Jody just commented saying that
chimed
she
in.
ordered one today.
Good. And for the ladies out there like Jody, we talked about this. As soon as we get the store going more and more, Got some ladies V-necks going to be available as well. Got some new designs that hopefully will come out. I didn't want to get too abrasive with the pink ones, but obviously there's a lot of alliteration with bourbons and breasts and stuff like that. So maybe next year. But if you guys have any ideas for charity shirts, charities that you think that we could do something with, whether it's the core podcast shirt, and again, this is just the front print. It doesn't have the back logo on there to keep the cost down. So we love to, if you guys get one of these shirts and people ask where'd you get it from a podcast, you guys do the advertising for us a little bit as opposed to us putting our big logo on the back. So yeah. And so Jonathan Herring, I mentioned this again, being in the intermission right now. Jonathan is not only with Forge Cigar Company, but he also is a Patreon member and has been a big supporter of the show. He just found the Patreon pricing. He's going to get him some more shirts. So the shirts, other than the charity one, is going to be $25 a shirt. And that's going to be for the podcast shirt. It's going to be for the BS shirts as well. If you're a Patreon member, you will, if you, the several that are Patreon members now, I messaged you guys through email today. There's a separate site. It's a mirror site along with a code that you'll get the shirts at a discounted price at $20 instead of $25. So you can stock up and save some money for being a supporter. And I do ask that you guys keep that code to yourself.
Keep it confidential.
Yeah. So don't share it. I don't have to go through. It's also for those that are in the garage at times. The code might also be my Wi-Fi password. So just don't. All right. I don't want to change it because I don't have to remember another one. All right. So I got the.
I know when we did ratings, like you started giving me shit about rating the cigar the way I did. You got to remember, when I give a cigar, like hold on. Like just in the even just in the Cohiba line, if I give a cigar a 7, I mean, like, that means everything else is above that. How far can I go? Like, there's not a whole lot of room up there.
You're the one rating it, man.
Bro, yeah, we're done with that. We're on to Zokolo.
Yeah, man.
No,
Steve's
gonna
the Zokolo.
So when I hear Zokolo, I just think of YOLO, and I just, it's just,
Thank God that trend ended.
Yeah.
Maybe all the people that were going out there yelling YOLO, like they've all done something. It's like, nope, you're done.
Yeah, that's a survival of the
They
fittest.
realize you only live once.
You only live, exactly.
Yeah, you live once, but don't end it by like eating Tide Pods.
Problem is YOLO turned into FOMO.
That's right. Fear of missing out. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Most of those people were doing that from their phone, sitting on their couch when they were tagging themselves.
Right?
You need a break now?
What was it?
Just waiting on Nate now. All right. This is awkward. Second half, the topic tonight is going to be working together.
All right.
I feel like we could definitely use some more of that in the world today. We got a couple of charity suggestions: ball cancer and butthole cancer. All right, so I'll look into those and see what months those are.
What cancer you said?
Those are brown t-shirts. Brown t-shirts.
Brown t-shirt. Yeah. Bourbon and buttholes.
God.
There you go. There's one for you. No, the next one that I do have planned for you guys that don't know, and again, I'm open for suggestions on this. I think it's great that we have the opportunity to do this with the charity shirts. Is at least the next one that I know of the soonest, unless we do one that you guys have a suggestion for, would be St. Baldrick's. Not because I'm bald, but that's a charity for childhood cancer research called St. Baldrick's, and they always do it at you guys. Rick, you've been there, I know. Sean, you know where we're at, next to Fido Irish Pub. So every St. Patrick's Day, they do a St. Baldrick's Day, and they basically they shave heads, and people raise money to shave heads for cancer research for children. So it's fantastic foundation, and I think that's the one we're going to do for that. So we'll do a green shirt for that one as well. and hope you guys support that.
No doubt. Hey, Rick, we got to give a shout out to our guy Bobby, man.
Bobby Hirschman,
the old Havana
Which
crew.
his crew is the one that.
What's up, man?
Yeah, so Bobby Hirschman.
You're right, bro. I love you, bro.
Yeah, so Bobby and his boys from Philly have been a part of the Bourbon and BS community page for some time. They've now made 2 trips to Columbus, literally just to hang out at Tinderbox and support some of the Columbus crew that where all this is kind of based out of. So when he and his buddies were in, Scott and Corey, they brought this Makers 101. So that's the donation bottle from that crew from Philly. So Bobby's fantastic,
bro. He's hurting right now, so
yeah.
We love you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Nate, you ready? Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 191, part 2. This is Beyond the BS, and we are fortunate to be still joined by Sean Williams from Cohiba Cigars, as well as Rick Rodriguez from CAO Cigars. And in the first part, if you guys are listening to part 2 on the audio, make sure you click back to part 1. If you're just tuning in live on the Facebook feed or the YouTube feed, please scrub back after we're done here or in a later time and listen to part 1, because we talked a bit about what these guys do for the different companies that they're with. They're also with the same parent company, so they're great friends. And I actually didn't realize, maybe I forgot that, Sean, you have a little bit of extra respect for Rick on how you came into the Cohiba line and being the ambassador for them and the role you have with Cohiba, which is fantastic. But we also reviewed and talked about a lot of their lines, but the Cohiba Blue specifically, as well as the CAO Zocalo.
My man.
And, we talked about that. What's that?
Nailed it.
I nailed it. I'm getting better at it. I'm probably going to mess it up.
You just got to say it another 100 times.
You notice that I pause every time I CAO
But that
Zokolo. I look down at the label. If I don't have the label in front of me, I'm fucked.
That pause is getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, I know. We'll see what happens. But we talked about those. I'm going to light up the. I gotta pause. You're in my head now. The Zokolo.
Oh my god. Yes.
Thanks for pouring me more whiskey. That's going to help. But I'm going to smoke that here next after the blue.
Another one with you.
We rated that along with the Maker's Mark 101. So hopefully you guys can tune in for some of that stuff going back or click it over on the audio. Tonight on Beyond the BS, if you guys are listening the first time because you guys are big fans of Sean or Rick, or if you just stumbled upon this on Facebook or YouTube or just on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever else, part 2 is kind of what happens, I feel like, and the model of this show is what happens when you're hanging out with good friends, new friends, or just anyone in a cigar shop or just over drinks and cigars, is you start talking about life. And so that's what I feel like sets our podcast a little apart from others, is that this extra part, yes, it goes long sometimes, but this is something that is important. And I think that there was a lot of revisiting to this type of conversation over the last 2 years. But I think it goes in waves in people's lives. So this one tonight, the topic is working together. And the reason I picked that topic is because we have 2 of these guys that are just absolutely they're on fire in the industry of the cigars right now. And they represent 2 of the greatest brands out there, 2 of the greatest portfolios. They work for one of the biggest companies in the world when it comes to cigars. And they're the face of their respective brands. Mm-hmm. They also, again, we talked about this in part 1, where they have a relationship even prior to Sean coming on to the Cohiba brand. But there's also a tie in the industry because Sean had his own cigar brand as well. So they have this relationship that I've seen for a while there. You guys were doing the Cigar World type thing with the 2 of you and Laurel from Macanudo, who is our guest next week as well. She'll be joining us in the garage. But you guys were doing this collaborative effort, which I love to see. Which, I tried to watch as many times as I could when you guys were on. I think a lot of people got burnt out a little bit over the last 2 years as well on online stuff. Yeah. But I see it coming back slowly. Now everyone's getting into the routines again. Sometimes you need a break from the routine. So it's always a kind of a cyclical thing. Working together, though, you guys have worked incredibly well together, supporting each other in your respective brands. And also, I think you guys look, and I've heard it in the part one, that you guys look to each other for opinions on what some of your projects might be. You know, Rick, you were talking about the fact that you have Cohiba Cigars in your humidor for your guests, and you talk highly about it, not because of necessarily, you know, the Cohiba brand sometimes has that whole thing of like a little bit more clout because of where it's at as far as the name brand, but it's because you support Sean, you support brands you care about, and you support just the cigar industry as a whole. So I think working together that you guys have, I want to touch on how you guys have worked together with the two of you, how you work with your teams at the factories and also the people you report to, and how that dynamic is. And then I think that as always in part two, you kind of lean into how you work together with your spouse, with your significant other, your friends. You guys are on the road a lot. There's a lot of our listeners that their jobs are very demanding, that some of the hurdles that we deal with, and I'm not even talking about the last couple of years of what we've all been dealing with, but just an everyday life type of thing, is that you have to truly not put it all on your own shoulders. And also you can't isolate yourself. You have to have this mentality of working together. And I'm going to introduce it now as opposed to later. But I think that one of the biggest things, and you guys can run with this, the two of you, Sean and Rick and Nate as well, and any of the listeners out there that are live, is the communication factor. Not only listening, but also putting out what you want to express as well. And I think that might be the gel of what working together really, really strives on. So that's my intro. You guys, I mean, so for example, Sean, if you could just touch on, for those listening that didn't listen to the first part yet, but when you came into the Cohiba brand, what was the relationship between you and Rick?
Well, I mean, Rick.
Yeah, stop right there. I want to handle this. Sean,
Rick, go ahead if you would about what your relationship between you and Sean.
Because I know Sean.
I'm sitting back to those audio.
Rick just took over the podcast.
He just crossed his legs. He's like, go ahead.
Yeah. So let me say this. When I was promoted for the first time, and I was working with Gloria, I walked into the shop in Atlanta, and I was so full of myself. And so I thought I had to introduce myself to anybody and everybody. So I was walking into the shop, and there was only one gentleman sitting in the back in this corner. And I walked in to introduce myself to the owner. We had a little meeting, and he says, I'll be right back with you. Go to the front, and, I'll meet you there. And I walked up to Sean, and I was so fun. Hey, bro, I'm working with La Gloria. Here's a cigar that I've made. And Sean took the cigar, says, what do you do? Oh, I'm the master blender for La Gloria. And I was talking about myself. And Sean, at that time, owned his own business in the cigars. I didn't know that. And we started to talk to each other. And Sean turned into Cigars to the Family. And we connected right there because I walked away and said, okay, don't know this guy, but I want this guy in my life because of the way he talks about his family and what is important to him. And that started that relationship with me and Sean. And so Sean and I met each other at the trade shows, our big smokes and all that. And I was like, bro, this guy is such a great guy. And so about 6 years ago, they said to me, they're going to hire somebody to be the face of Cohiba. And I remember talking to the VP of marketing, Gus Martinez, at that time, and said, Gus, do me a favor. Just call this gentleman. I don't know what he does. I don't know if he ever would work with us. Just call Sean. And Sean and him connected, and the rest is kind of history. Sean, if you can add.
Is that how you remember it, Sean?
Yeah, more or less. But he left out one thing. He was the person that actually called me, and
he called you.
He called me. Well, he texted me and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing? You got time to get on the call tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we'd always joke. We run into each other. He's like, "Bro, we're gonna we're going to do something together someday. It'd be great if we do something together. And I was like, yeah, great. But, you know, you say that a lot in this business, right? And it never happens. And I remember this was, I don't remember what show this was. When did you launch Pilone?
Ricky, that was a question
Rick,
to you.
when did you launch Pilone?
That was no,
18.
it was 18.
2018. So that was like the last time I'd seen you there in person. You gave me Pilone, smoked it, loved it. We talked there, saw each other again in Wichita. So we would see each other a couple times a year, and we always say, "Oh, we're gonna do something together." So when he called,
this is when you were with your old,
just with my brand,
This is when you were your own brand.
Yeah. And he texted me, and we talked the next day, and just kind of catching up in general and so forth, and he kind of threw out the idea of doing something with Cohiba, and at the time, I'm thinking, oh well, okay, well, yeah, I got my brand, so like, what's going to happen? We just don't know how it's going to go or what it's going to be, and he's like, at least talk to these guys and talk to Gus. And I mean, obviously I was very, very interested, but there's the consideration of what do I do with a brand that I, launched and built and ran for 10 years at that point. But he was the guy that first they had called to see if he's interested. He kind of took my temperature, which I was. And I talked to Gus shortly after that, and that started a cascade. I think that was in maybe December of 2016, and fast forward to April of 2017 is when I actually, signed on and came on board. But yeah, Rick was the guy, man. He was the guy. Yeah.
Was there someone before you, Sean, in that position?
There was never a me for Cohiba.
No.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I think that's a bold move from General Cigars to put a face behind Cohiba, right? I mean, that's something that,
especially a brand that's been around that long already.
Yeah, it's an iconic brand, right? So this is a bold move, right? So this is something that you don't necessarily see all that often.
Struggling, guys. It was struggling.
What?
But it was struggling. It didn't have a purpose. At that time, General Cigar realized through my events that the connection for the fans to CAO at that time or Lagoria was working. So if it works with Ricky, could we offer somebody else? And so Sean would never see. Cohiba was heading down, and it was lost. It didn't have a purpose, a voice in the market. It was just Cohiba. And General Cigar never knew how to react to that brand. And so when they said, we're thinking about somebody, of course, that somebody has to be elegant, somebody that can share the stories, sometimes that gravitates, people who gravitate to them. That was Sean. In my eyes, that was Sean. And what he's done with Cohiba in the last 4 or 5 years is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's made strides, obviously. And we talked about in the first part about the rebranding was a project, obviously.
I appreciate the love and adulation, but Rick, as well as I do, we have an incredible team that people never even see.
I agree. I agree.
But Sean, that's a good point, though. You know what I mean? Like that is part of the topic here is the working together thing. Is that a lot of times, people see the people either at the top or they see the people that are in front of the camera. But that person in front of the camera, the face of something, not typically. Sometimes it is, and we see that in the Jeff Bezos. You see that with like Mark Cuban, But a lot of the times you don't see that. You see the spokespeople. You see the people that are the creative side of it. You see the people that are given that light, that spotlight, where the everyday consumer will never even think about the fact that there is a team of people behind whatever that product is. I think that's a valid point. I mean, again, like Rick with CAO, you're not rolling every CAO cigar that people are smoking. But the fact that they identify, if they've met you, and they identify you as CAO, Sean now with Cohiba, that's the image. That's the person, that face, that just the personality behind it. And if it doesn't go well, it's a huge flop because people will identify with it.
Yeah.
If it's a success,
it has to be the
a
right
huge
fit.
success.
It has to be the right fit for your line. So if you look at Laurel and Sean and me, and replace the characters in the other lines, maybe it doesn't work. If she was representing CAO and Sean was representing Magneto, I was representing Cohiba, it doesn't work. But this team works because we are embedded in this category, this little slice of pie that General Cigar owns. We own it. We really believe in it. We live it. We struggle with it, and it comes across, I think.
But I also think you guys are hitting a good point, Sean. I think you have been the most prominent person on the show so far to continue to kind of pass it along to the team. You know what I mean? Like anything that we've talked about, even in part one, it's like when Nate was asking about the branding and what you had to do with that, and did you do this? And you just immediately deflect it to say, like it's a little bit of a humble side of it, but I think it's also it's more respect.
So I played football at Grambling State University, right? Eddie Robinson, probably the greatest man that I've ever personally known. He was the winningest coach in college football history, put scores and scores of people into the NFL. Just a giant of a man. And I would remember when he would do press conferences and people would sort of, throw these compliments at him, and he would remind everybody that he never blocked and tackled anybody.
Right.
Never blocked and tackled a story. Right. So, for me, my biggest thing, came on board was not to, I wanted to see, how do we expand the audience? How do we push this brand forward? How do we expand the audience? How do we look to the future and create something that can last in the future, but at the same time, not alienate the people, whatever state, people want to say the brand was in at the time. We didn't want to alienate the people that were supporting the brand at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So make the family bigger, but not kick our uncle out, right? So that was a big thing. I was just trying not to screw it up, and Rick was a big part of that, just from kind of me navigating the corporate landscape. I mean, I hadn't had anybody cut a paycheck for me in 20 years, right?
Right.
So that alone, like
you're writing your own checks at that point.
I have to work for somebody, right? A boss, and however successful my brand was, or however it struggled at times, whatever, I was the boss. There was nobody telling me what to do. Nobody controlling my schedule, nobody controlling budget, whatever. Win, lose, or draw, I was the guy. So now it's like, okay, I'm not just going to work for somebody. I'm going to work for the largest hand-rolled premium cigar company in the world. So I'm thinking, man, it's going to be, administratively taxing, you just don't know what to expect. And then the politics of it and so forth.
You're walking into the corporate world at that point.
Yeah. And
right.
That kind of really held my hand through all that and kind of getting acclimated to my new ecosystem was Rick. We talked a lot about that, so that's just kind of like the nuts and bolts stuff. But then as it relates to cigars, I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of a blend that I put out or we put out with Cohiba since I've been on board, and even vice versa, that we haven't smoked. Like, we're in the factory at the same time a lot of times working on stuff. And we even like have this sort of banter back and forth, like, damn, I wish I had that blend, or vice versa. Like this gonna be even the packaging, the packaging on Royale, right? The packaging on Royale, people don't know this, was almost CAO.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I think you brought that up. Yeah.
So
that curve.
the
curve box. Yeah.
We worked together a lot. I mean, Bones. We were in February of 2020. We were in Honduras and he's finishing up the packaging for Bones, and we're looking at someone and say, bro, I don't know if that needs to be on there. It just the story doesn't connect. Whatever. I don't like the energy. So we do that a lot. And he'll be like with the Connecticut blend. He can tell you how hard it was with the Cohiba Connecticut blend. We're trying to work with a U.S. grown Connecticut shade wrapper, and he's like, I'm struggling with it because I want to put out a U.S. grown Connecticut shade, and I'm trying to make a square peg, block fit into a round hole, and
right.
Like, bro, this is just not working. Like it just, so we iron sharpens iron, man. We bounce a lot of stuff off of each other. We really do.
But I love that because again, I mean, I think that you talk to. There's a lot of information in what you just talked about, Sean, because not only did you touch on the fact that you went from being the kind of end all be all, being a business owner and doing your own thing. Now you're walking into a new venture, which obviously has so far panned out. When you enjoyed the challenges and the changes, you had someone to I'm going to say lean on, but also, maybe look to, or as you said, you bounce ideas off of. You have a sounding board. And I think that that's a very sadly unique situation, especially in the corporate world, that you can talk to someone that is either your equal or someone even above or below you and say, I just want to shoot you straight. Tell me what you think. And there's no hidden agendas there. There's nothing about the fact that and I see that with you guys. You're talking about being in Honduras. You're talking about your different boxes, the packaging. You're talking about different blends. And sadly, I think sometimes the working together theme is really stunted when it comes to that, because there are these agendas or personal gain, and that never pans out for both parties. If not, it doesn't pan out for either party. When you're always looking at it, it's like, Sean, if you have this killer blend and you're looking at it and you're like, you know what, I think that this could be marketed as a CAO. Based on what I know of you two, that would be something that either of you guys could look at, whether it be the packaging or literally just the straight.
We've literally done that.
Hey, I think this could work as a Cohiba, but I think this would probably work better as a CAO, or vice versa. That's true working together. That you're like, we're going to have more Cohiba blends. We're going to have more CAO blends. But if we're both going to succeed in our roles, we need to make sure that we're hitting it right. And if I'm greedy and I take every good blend, even though I don't think it fits our brand, which is easily done for a lot of people. I think it's really easily done, that they look at it as, whether or not they admit it or not, there's a bit of a personal gain or personal security that they do this with, especially in the career world and the business world, is that I don't see any aspect of that with you guys, because it is a very give and take and an honest relationship between the two of you. And also, we talked about Laurel. We talk about the teams behind you, is that if you're going to succeed as a team, you have to work together and never really put yourself first. You kind of have to put yourself first, but not in a sense that you put yourself before others when you know in your heart that it's really not the best move, but in the immediate future, it might benefit me. But I hear this from you guys, is that you really are looking long-term success for the brands, for you personally, for the career, for everything involved.
Yeah.
I kind of look at
sure
them.
For me, bro.
Yeah.
If I said, if you look at the first meeting with Sean, he didn't talk about business, how much money he wants to make, and it's all about cigars. I own my own company. I'm going to be huge. That would say, okay, perfect, great to meet you. Walk away. That is not the dude I want in my life at this time. And it comes with age too, Steve. It really does. Because my reaction to Sean at 30 and 40 would be different than 50 and 60. Because you know what? Kind of live that life. Now I'm more of the guy that wants to make you succeed if your goals, what you want to do, instead of working on mine. Goes.
Yeah.
So it's all the trust that I have in him. And so I knew at that time, he's not that business guy that wants to just mow me over the first opportunity he has. He's going to be a friend of mine I can depend on and work with him.
Yeah, I think some people they strive off of, always looking, over their shoulder. But I always think that's short term. we had a comment again, and we've got a lot of listeners. Jonathan Herring had a comment, which I want to get to. But first, I had Ray out there again. So he put up there, the last person I worked for was the exact opposite of everything you're discussing. Quote, the idiot, end quote. As I called him, loved to take all the credit and pass the blame for everything that went wrong. Again, short-term shit. That's all that is, right? That's job security that they're creating on the backs of other people. He said, I took that shit for 2 years and then was driven to retirement. And said it was horrible. I mean, that's kind of he's absolutely right. That's the opposite.
It's sad because Roy has something to offer that company. And so I think companies are kind of looking at their employees different. There's takers and givers. And these companies were run by takers for all, the last 20 years, 30 years. And I think corporations are respecting your voice more. So I feel it. I think Sean feels it. If I want to do something, I can do it. There's nobody to say, no, that's not right. You cannot use that tobacco. I have the opportunity to use anything and everything I want, and Sean does too. And so working with General Cigar, I can say this. If you ask any blender out there, you want to go work for, ABC or General Cigar. Because the opportunity to have great tobacco, great people to work with you, from marketing to the factories are there for you. And so for me, it'd be hard for me to say I would rather work with XYZ than General Cigar, because I know the opportunity we have right now is unbelievable.
That's the biggest thing that struck me early on. Again, I mean, I had, with your own brand, you have total creative autonomy, right? So I was just wondering if I'm going to get over there, it's going to be stifled, a lot of guardrails and, stuffy.
Those were your thoughts going into working for?
Yeah, that's what I wasn't thinking it, but I worried about it. But I mean, I've been just pleasantly shocked and continue to be shocked at how innovative the company allows us to be.
Yes.
I mean, well,
I think, and the fact that Rick was the one that actually reached out to you. I mean, that probably, I think, I don't want to say it eased a lot of those concerns, but I mean, it does speak volumes when you see someone that you trust that's actually vouching for not only you, like we talked about that, he's vouching for you in a sense, like when he was talking to the powers that be, but also the fact that he is the one vouching for you on your side of it. You're like, oh, he's solid. He's not going to set me up for failure, what you know of him. So you're like, well, if he's happy, he's not going to like recommend a company that is going to just, bleed me dry, and just take me over the coals. I mean, there is, I mean, it always goes back to that networking, who you know type stuff. But I mean, it's a two-sided thing. I think that is something that on your side, Sean, is that, again, working together, you looked at the fact that it was Rick that actually reached out to you. You're like, all right, well, maybe I will give this even more thought, because there is someone that I trust in this industry that would not set me up for failure. But at the same time, obviously, Rick's looking at you is like, I think this is a good fit, but you got to do you. You got to actually make your decision. And not only that, if you do take this, you got to make your own success story.
Absolutely. And we have those conversations now. Like, I mean, I absolutely love what I do more than I could ever imagine. I think the same for Rick. But even with that, every rose has its thorns, right? So there are times where you're tired, or there's some issues, or things there are things that always issues that come up, and things that come up in any situation. Mm-hmm. And there's certain things that really I can only talk to Rick about. Like we, he understands certain things better than anybody outside of this organization, or even in this organization would, even more so than our counterpart Laurel, and not for any other reason aside. There's a big age difference. Rick and I both have families, and other sort of home life things that we juggle, and there's a lot of things that sort of go on. So at some point you just need to like breathe and like, man, okay, this is what's going on, bro, and talk and whatever. And that alone is invaluable.
Let me put this question from one of the guys you've talked about tonight, Jonathan Herring, who's again a big supporter of the podcast. He's been on the podcast. He's been on with you guys both. He's now with your sister company, Forged. But he says, what's the balance like between creating your own brand, which you guys both kind of do, versus the cigar brand? Is that tough? Is that a tough line sometimes? I think, a lot of times when you're put as the face of a brand or a company, even I have that on a local level, you know what I mean? And when I'm doing all the social media, I'm doing all that stuff. And for those that don't know the relationship of my role in the industry, I'm a manager of a cigar shop that's owned by the same person, Brian Joyce, for the last 22 years. So it's fed into a lot of education for me and all that. But one of the reasons he hired me was because he didn't want to do the social media. He didn't want to be on the microphone. He didn't want to be the face of it. But if you go in that shop, he is still the face of it. So there's a transition there. But, I'm not necessarily building my own brand with the podcast. It's all that synergy, right? It's building everything around you and also challenging yourself. For you guys on a much larger scale, Rick Rodriguez is CAO Cigars to the majority of the customers at this point. Sean Williams, 4.5 years into it, you're becoming more and more the face. You look at articles, you're on covers of magazines, as well. You got these interviews. You guys are becoming your own brand. In the same time, you're actually parallel building up the brands that you're the ambassadors or blenders for. That's a great question from Jonathan. Is that how you put it? Is that a tough line sometimes? Because again, I think that's a personal thing that you're looking out for yourself versus
it is
for the company, or is there a synergy there?
Rick?
For me, it is a tough act. Because for me, when I think of me and what I want to do, does it fit with CAO? And so sometimes I have a great idea that I want to extend this line or do this, and the project doesn't work for CAO. And so it is a tough balance to kind of click off your mind sometimes and turn on the mind for CAO. So it's a challenge for me to say this is not right for CAO, but I would love to do this. And so I struggle with that, every day because I have so many ideas, so many avenues I want to, visit. But at the end of the day, this isn't right for the line that I'm working for today.
Is there any reflection of that, Rick, with the cigar brands? And again, this I think it translates to anything you guys are doing with your career, right? Not just you two, Nate, myself, but all the listeners out there as well. Rick, I'll say this with CAO. I've seen this as an outsider and being a big fan, obviously, of you as a person. I've got to know you a little bit over the years, and I feel very fortunate for that. Again, being an enthusiast in the industry, being a part of the industry, still having a little bit of that fanboy in me, as well. But, with that CAO Pilon that, Sean brought up earlier, you brought up Bones. I've seen Rick Rodriguez show up on a band, on a marketing thing, the sessions. You have this personality that just like peeks through, and then the next release has no Rick Rodriguez on it. Is that reflective of you having more identity with the project? Is it something that you're trying to do? What Jonathan's asking is like, is there a parallel there of like personal brand / the brand itself, or is it a synergy thing? Because again, like with Sean having his, are we going to see a Sean Williams on a Cohiba box at some point? Is there going to be something where like that El Teton Bronze got kind of like the spotlight on that? You worked with them. I don't know I think it's the first time that Cohiba worked with them so far, but that's one of those things. You brought some of those Miami factory fans out there. They're like, oh, Cohiba's working with them. I love that factory. I love what they're doing. It's Miami factory, all that stuff. But Rick, with you, the CAO Pilon, It was on the band. It said it had your signature. I don't think it was your signature, but it was your name. But it was like looked like your signature. And then the sessions you talked about the fact that was your garage. You were going to name it garage. You had your bones, and this was like another one that had this like really Rick Rodriguez aspect of it. Does it benefit both sides, your own personal brand, or is that just an effort to boost your brand?
I think it benefits both sides. I think it benefits both sides. I have a problem when they want to put my name on the band. It's only been twice for Cologne and Session. And because, like Sean says, we. It's not me. It's a bunch of people behind the scenes. So why should I be the guy that put my name in? So I know the value of that. The first time we did it, just connect the CAO line with me. So there's old regime and there's a new sheriff of town. And then Sessions, because of the history. Yeah, exactly. But Session is because the fans want information from me. So we apply that name. But if you ask me, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about my name or my personality. It's about CAO. So I would vote against any other lines that we create together to have my name on that cigar.
Yeah.
I like what you did, Rick, also with that. Sean, I'm sorry, real quick. Rick, I like the white packaging. You had the Rick Rodriguez signature line, the sampler that you had at events.
Yeah.
I liked that.
That's different. That's different because
that true fan was of what you're doing.
Plans.
Yeah, I like that. So there is you're walking a fine line, but I will say, and then I'll go to you, Sean, because of where you're at with Cohiba at this point, as far as the timeline. I like the fact that that's one of those things. Again, even on my small scale in this industry, but in the business, is that at a certain point when you are the face or you're doing the outreach to people, right? You're trying to drive the business. At some point, people start identifying with you for better or worse. They may not like you. That's the bad. That's the worst. They may start liking you. Now, all of a sudden, it takes the attention off of the greater project. That's, a fine line to cross, that it's like, can you deflect it to a point that it's like, no, I'm just the one getting the information out there. Yeah. I'm the one working on this for the greater good, for you, for the fans, for the consumers and all that stuff. And I think that Rick, I'll give you the credit here, is that I think that's what I saw with the Pilon, the Session. But at a certain point, I know at least the shops that know you, the consumers that know you, there will be a point that they are buying CAO cigars because they, first of all, like the cigars and your palate, what you're doing with it. And then they like you. People buy from people they like. This is basic sales. And I think when you brought it up, Rick, about Cohiba, if it's struggling because it's an older brand and, same people are buying Cohibas, it's a higher price point and all that stuff. So how do we relate to consumers? How do we relate to the customers? How do we relate to the enthusiasts without, like Sean, you said, without turning off the hardcore guys? So that's where I'll kind of go to you, Sean, on this, is that you're at that transition point. I feel like that the more people that get to know you, now you're becoming more and more the face of Cohiba. How are you actually handling that? Because you guys are in different stages. You're 4.5 years into it. Ricky, you're at like 11 years into it. And you already had your obstacle where CAO meant a different family, different blender, different name behind it. And you have successfully at this point transitioned with also paying ode to, homage to where it came from and why General acquired that. But, you, Sean, do you see this transitioning? Do you see this as something that people are starting to identify with you? And you're very good at this point, and I appreciate that on both your sides. You deflect automatically that the truth of the matter is there's a team behind me.
Yeah. So, for me, it's different in a sense that, Cohiba Cohiba's is and certainly no slight to CAO, but people who've never smoked a cigar, maybe never been into a cigar shop, will have heard of Cohiba, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
that name
Yes.
has has such a place in the lexicon of cigars that aside from Silencio, my signature cigar, which is the exclusive cigar at events or people meet me, whatever, that cigar has my name on the band and name on the box, but it's not a cigar that's on the price sheet, right? They can't sell it. It's only available if we've had some personal interaction, right? But there's never an inclination to put my name on a Cohiba. I mean, Cohiba's Cohiba, right? So that part is pretty easy. But as far as balancing my personal brand with the Cohiba brand, for me, it's the two for the most part are inextricable, right? I mean, there's just certain things that I don't do, or certain activities I don't, I operate a little bit differently now than I did 5 years ago.
Sure.
Just quite honestly, because the brand is bigger than me, and for some reason, if I'm taken out of this place tomorrow, this position, I want the brand to be better than when I left it, and I don't want to have done anything to sort of hurt the stature of the brand, or to attach the brand to be like, Cohiba's nothing without me. That's Cohiba was pretty damn big before I came in, and I just hope that at some point, hopefully upon retirement, that the brand is a lot bigger than when I came on board. So I don't really separate the two necessarily as far as my personal brand with Cohiba, because it's kind of hard. I mean, maybe there was a time where and there's still people obviously who don't know me, hasn't met me, and I still meet people. Oh, what did you do before Cohiba? Like, some people think I just showed up, and became the guy for Cohiba. I mean, but I had a history, in this business for 10 years before, and luckily, I built some great relationships in this business, and I would like to think built, a pretty good reputation for myself. So I'm always, just trying to operate in that place, and just deal with people, man. Like, I want everybody to win. I want everybody to win, especially the people closest to me. I want them to win even more. If you're not winning, if your team isn't winning, if the people around you aren't winning, like you aren't wealthy if the people around you aren't wealthy, right? So that's just kind of how I operate, and that's the way I look at the brand and my personal brand. I think about everything that I do, even with my watches, even whatever. Like, okay, I don't want to do anything that's going to compromise the brand in any way, and I can't. I have to think about more than just myself personally, and whatnot. And as it relates to to sort of translating that into the integrity of the brand, I know both sides of the coin. Like, I've been a micro boutique in the business, and I know what that's like as far as how you release products and what you're trying to gain in releasing products and the strides you're trying to make. That's a different calculation with Cohiba. You got to think a lot further. I think a lot further with Cohiba when we put out a product. What is this product going to look like on the shelves 4 or 5 years? That's the way we plan. Like literally, we sit around, and Rick can tell you, we and sometimes it's like man, it's kind of pressure. Like, okay, well, we need to start planning. Like, what are we doing in 2023 and 2024? I'm like, shit. What like can we get out of 2021? But that's the way you plan. So just the nature of the business and the nature of the brand kind of make you, at least for me, operate in a certain way as it relates to my brand. I have to be thinking long term. What does this look like a year from now? What does this look like 2 years from now? So I don't really decouple the two. I think about my personal brand. Am I representing Cohiba in the right light? And I just keep that top of mind, man. I mean, I don't know any other way to do it.
I think it goes back to integrity, right? So, like, again, if your company, Cohiba, CAO, or whatever your company is selling whatever widgets, right? You know, whoever you are doing your job, your role. And I think that brings it into knowing your role and being a role player in a team and working together. Is if that starts being like your integrity becomes compromised, that is on you to either question it, challenge it, and at the same time, if the greater good of whatever company or the team that you're on is conflicting with what you want of your personal brand, to kind of go back to Jonathan's point, if that's too big of a conflict and there's no remedy internally, that's a point where you have to actually reflect on it and realize that, yeah, you know what, you guys are doing your thing, you know, as a company. I'm going to support you, and by supporting you, that means that I have to bow out and I have to look elsewhere because I'm no longer a good fit. Fortunately, you guys in the career that you're in so far is that you haven't had that challenge yet to the point where you guys are like, yeah, this isn't it for me. And, you know, Sean, more recently, you're that person that came in less than 5 years ago, owning your own company. You're coming in there and you have nothing but good things to say about it. Yes, it's a job. It's not all, you know, it's not a honeymoon phase. You know what I mean? Like there's challenges. I'm sure you've had those back and forths with the power that be, you know, that says, you know, they want this, I don't want to do it, but you pick your battles. This is just how relationships work, especially in the career world and also personally, that you're going to have to realize that it's like, we can work through this and I can still be myself. My integrity is not questioned to the point that I am no longer myself just to be a company man or be something that someone else wants me to be. And I love hearing that from you guys in the cigar industry or any industry, is that you have this ability to not only be Rick Rodriguez, Sean Williams, that are also now the faces of a company, but again, as long as the future, whether it be immediate or you talk about years to come, if that's still aligned, that's healthy. As soon as the conflict becomes too large and you're waking up in the morning, you're like, I have a meeting with so and so. I'm dreading this, and it's fucking 4 days away. Yeah. That happens all the time.
I exit. I would just leave because right now, at my age, I want to work with people that want to work with me. If you have a problem with me, show me the door. I exit because
and first of all, say that you have a problem with me.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have a problem, we can get through it. Great. If it's going to linger on, that's your problem. I'm exiting. And so, yeah. For me, working with Just Cigar and Sean and Laurel, bro, we're in the right place at the right time right now for us. And so, like I said, Regis and Chris and Gene, the head of Just Cigar, are leaving us alone, and we can do whatever we want as long as we believe in that project. And so, I've never been told no. I've never been told you can't. If I believe it, if I have a great plan, a great story, a great fight, they're going to let me do it.
I love it.
The way they kind of talk about, the way Ricky talked about where Cohiba was and the way Sean has talked about his role, I kind of relate it to being a coach for a sports team.
Yeah.
Like there was a team there already doing something. Sean comes on board. Sean's not, say football, for example, Sean's not the one going out there, taking snaps or catching passes in the end zone. He's the head coach. He's trying to give the team direction. Right. Mm-hmm. He's not doing it because he still has his boss. He has a GM. He has an owner that he's responsible to, but he's just trying to give a team direction. Like, all right, this is where we are. What do? We need to do something better. And, the people that were making the cigars before Sean, they're still making the cigars. The people that were, part of the marketing, they're still doing marketing. Maybe some of them went on to other teams, but there was a marketing department before Sean. There's still a marketing department. Sean just kind of there as another voice, another mind to bring a different perspective and, try and give a direction in order to make the team as a whole succeed.
Yeah, and Ray put it out there. I put it up on the screen there. Is that it's a great call. And to be honest, he was talking about what Sean was talking about, the way I've always behaved no matter where I worked. And Ray's had a very successful career. When you put yourself out there, you are always representing the brand company you work for. That's not a common attitude, unfortunately. The fact that that's not a common attitude, sadly, a lot of times because of the personal gain, those that have that mentality, again, talk like what I just talked about with integrity, like you have to always have to keep that in check. But sometimes even that gets questioned, right? That's the working together thing. It's like, who's this guy coming along that all of a sudden he's like, yeah, he's not this yes man. He's got this again team mentality that he wants everyone to succeed. But somehow that sometimes gets people to think, especially the people that are above you, I think, or people that are co-workers or on the same level. They're like, what's his ulterior motive? You know what I mean? I think there's always that mentality out there that, you know, people look at these, like people like yourselves, Rick and Sean, is that, you know, it's like, yeah, they're always challenging stuff, but they're also like, they're always positive. They're always like trying to like make the better of things. And it's like, that's not right.
Well, but the difference,
I feel like people have that mentality sometimes.
Well,
and I think it's a very, like it just sucks the energy out of it.
I think one of the differences though is they're not pushing back or saying no to things because they're comfortable doing what they've done. They have a goal in mind. And if someone proposes an idea that they feel goes against that goal, that's when they're going to say no. Like, no, this is not where we want to go. You know, I get what you're saying. But for our brand, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Like Cohiba's not going out there trying to, put an $8 cigar on the market. Like if someone came up to Sean and go, hey, we want you to blend an $8 cigar. Like That's not our thing. That's not who we are. I'm not saying no to buck a trend. I'm saying no because that's not what the goal of the brand is.
Well, they did that with the Cohiba Blue with the $12 cigar.
Again, but
you made a $12 cigar.
You're right. You're right.
Go ahead,
You're
Rick.
right, because that's the beauty of working with General Cigar at that time, because they allow you to have your voice and they will react to your voice, because a lot of times it's going to be, they're going to look at Sean and me and Laura and say, it's your call. You have to believe in this project enough to stand in front of people. And if we have the side, I don't believe in it, it's not going to work for me, so I'm not going to be able to kind of fully get behind that, they'll do away with that project. So we have those interactions, but at the end of the day, they're going to look at Sean and me and say, what do you think? What do you think it makes sense for your line? Because we're talking to marketing guys, and these marketing guys are not out there. And so they're relying on, so they're relying on us to be the ears and eyes. So a project that marketing comes up with, and if we don't agree with it, we have the kind of the bullets in our belt to say, we're going to fight you on this because we believe this is not the right move, or we agree with you this is the right move.
Or there are times where maybe there's a specific thing that we're not super passionate about, but we understand that it's sort of like you guys have a retail shop.
Direction.
Yeah.
You can't love every cigar in the human. You understand it's good for your customers, right? It's good for the consumers. Right. We have to get bigger than ourselves as it relates
Cameroon for me.
And bigger than ourselves as it relates to the consumer. Like, I don't enjoy every size of a cigar, right? Or but I have to understand that, okay, from a consumer, we want to cast as big a net as possible without, compromising the integrity of the brand. So if there's something, we can put something out, packaged a certain way, or a Vitola or something like that we think would attract a certain consumer, but it still allows us to hold the integrity of the brand. And okay, well, that I'm not crazy about that, but I understand it. I can get behind it. I can explain it. Yeah. You have to. It's a give and take either way.
Your fans want that.
Yeah. Rick and I we're like the shock absorbers, right? You got On the street, you got the wheels. That's the cigar lovers. Then you have the big machine, which is the company. And in the middle, we try to keep everything smooth, and
Well, I
make
think
sure that
things always work, no matter what industry. But I think the sports parallel is a great one, right? So this is something that, like, anything that looks good on paper, right? Everything looks good on tape. But for those, like, you guys are that liaison, which I love about this, is that, with this industry, but you can relate this to anything. When you're sitting around a conference table in a boardroom with PowerPoint presentation, it's literally like, oh yeah, this makes sense based on statistics and blah blah, like this and this and this, and you're like, I get what you're saying, but I was in 50 shops in the last 2 months.
Yes.
This is my feedback based on what you're saying, and I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm not trying to negate what you're saying, and numbers never lie. I get that part of it, but there is always a human aspect to it. And there's always in this industry, the consumer side of it. Again, you look at, like, even like, I keep doing this. This is everyday life stuff. It's like friendships and relationships. It's like, yes, it makes sense on paper, but then when you're dealing with real life, you didn't introduce that into your PowerPoint presentation. You didn't introduce the fact that you got the same person in every shop I've been to that doesn't want to smoke a 6x60, and all you want to do is put out these 6x60s, or you only want to do these stronger strength cigars. You only want to do this. It's like, I'm out there. You pay me to be out there, and all of a sudden, it's like, you don't even listen to me, and all you want to do is do what you look at numbers based on what's happening right now. So now we're gonna I need you guys to blend this cigar. I need you to act this specific way. I need you to dress this way. It's like, well, that's not me. That's not why you hired me. There's got to be a give and take. And I think, again, it goes back to the communication side of it. I really do. And I think that's something that you guys really...
And we have that in General Cigar.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, we have that in the General Cigar. Yeah, because, if you look at the history of CAO, there's 2 launches that we fought for. And then one was the Flathead. The Flathead came about in less than a week because I was working on the project for a year. And I remember calling at that time, the president of General Cigar, Dan Carr. I said, I do not believe in this project. I can't get this blend down. The team has been working for the last 6 months. We cannot do this cigar. I'm out. And it says, Ricky, if you're out, you have nothing to introduce to the public at this trade show. And we're only 3 years into this kind of venture of taking over CAO. So do you really want to go to the trade show with nothing? I'd rather go to the trade show with nothing than force this project. And they said, well, you know what you have in mind? You have anything else? I have this crazy concept called Flathead. And we developed Flathead in less than 5 days. And that was the beauty of General Cigar. Listen to us as the face or the guys on the street, knowing what we thought the fan wanted from us. Yeah, so we're lucky to work with General Cigar and a team of marketing and big wigs that will allow us to say, if you believe in it, do it. Yeah.
There's a lot of trust there, right? And that's the success of any relationship. And we're talking about, like, business relationships. And I think it is absolutely universal. And that is something that when you're talking about that is you're absolutely right. All right, I'll go to the field. I'll go to the court. I'll go to the consumers. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do what you say because you're paying me. But I'm telling you, this is what I'm hearing. If it's a one-way street, it's a failure most times. I mean, we've all seen that. We've all experienced that. We've all done. If you're trying to be someone for someone else, that you're actually not just for the greater good, that you actually keep that relationship alive, whether it be career or personal, it will fail because you're not being true to yourself. And that's one of the things that I love about hearing that is that the trust level, again, going back to communication, when you came into the shop, Rick, with the Flatheads, when they were prototypes, you were already convinced about it. And I remember that you came in at Tinderbox at Easton with the flathead prototypes. And the only thing that I'm still bitter about is that they're all box press, and I get it, but you have that one that's a round just mold that is rarer. And I love the 554. You said that earlier, the 660 is the one that was rated highly. I love the 554. I love the flathead spark plug as well. But also, I love the round ones. And I still have the picture pop up on Facebook Memories. It was like this. There was a Lancero you brought in. There was like a Bellicoso you brought in.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. I'm like smoking these things. Like, I'm not going to say the brand, but I'm like, this is the X killer.
Yeah.
And he came out with all the marketing. I'm like, I get it, but man, I wish there was a Bellicoso out there. But again, I think that's the working together thing. I think that really is. That's one of those things. It's like, all right, if we're going to go with that blend, we got to go with this marketing, and you guys work together, and it's been a huge success.
And
but it's
the
working
box
together.
press came about. Yeah, the box press came about from a roller that I work with.
From a roller?
Because we're struggling with the heat of the round cigars. And bro, I don't know if we need to change the tobacco, but it's burning too hot. I'm not getting the full flavor. And the roller says, Ricky, why don't you just box press it and cool it down? And we did that. And I looked at him and said, all right, bro, really? Brilliant.
You went with it and it worked.
People don't realize that.
Just
to geek out on tobacco.
I love that, bro.
A box press just cools the smoke. People, it's the little sort of things that people don't realize. It's just the little change like that.
Well, I think you talked about it when another rep was on. They have a cigar that they do a blend, and it's available both round and box press.
Yep.
And that rep had said round cigars will sell better, but when you're doing an event and you're giving out a cigar, people will pick the box press because they think it's like a higher end and they're getting more out of it.
Maybe. I think the box press. You guys would
maybe
know better
this
than I
is
would.
true, but the real reason.
What is it?
The real reason we do a box press is because, like Shanja, we're just trying to cool that cigar smoke. It doesn't roll away. It's just cooler smoke, and so it's like Jonathan named Zokolo, and a roller suggested box press the cigar, and another roller suggested to me, you need to put that wrapper on this new cigar called Amazon Basin with the tobacco wrapper that comes from a roller, and so
it's cool.
It's amazing, if you just have the ability to share your passion with everybody, they want to add to that passion, and so if you're for me to you, I've met guys in this business with steel. I was the guy that created flathead box press. I was the guy that created the band for Amazon Basin. I was the guy that named the cigar. No, it wasn't you. It was your friends that helped you. And so I would love to give the credit to Jonathan for the name and the rollers and all that. So that is just part of our team.
Well, I love diving into this. That's why I love this part of it. And even like you guys have had opportunities to be on obviously other podcasts, you guys did your own show, you did all that stuff. Is again, I go back to, the people buy from people they like. And I think that you guys, both of you and Laurel next week, it speaks volumes to, again, the powers that be and the teams behind you guys, that the working together theme is truly where you see success. I mean, this is something that you see in sports. It's easy to peg it on a football team. Why do they lose? Because of the quarterback. I'm like, well, that's not always the way it works, because there's another 10 guys on his side and there's another 11 guys. Also, there's a whole coaching staff. There's also a whole practice team. It is everything that leads up to it. It's all the variables. You guys you're basically the quarterbacks of the brands, right? If something succeeds, you guys are rock stars. something fails, you guys fucked up. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. You guys know, like, all the meetings you were in, like when you spent those days down in the factories, you talk to the rollers, you talk to everyone else, and you're like, well, I really didn't want to do it this way. And
that can't be the conversation, though, Steve.
I agree. I'm just saying that's that general public knowledge. That's that general opinion is that it always falls on one person. And I don't think it does. And I think that's what you're saying, Sean.
So I haven't had a situation where I shit the bed yet with a blend. Thank goodness.
You're doing well. Cohiba's doing well.
But I have had things at certain events. I have concerts. Well, no. I'm talking about with Cohiba. I had plenty of bad shitting with my brand. I'm talking about with Cohiba. but I have had issues where there's certain projects or events that I wanted to participate in because I thought they were a good idea and they didn't go well. And it's like, you know what? It's on me. Yeah, I shouldn't have done it. You want to do it again. Yeah. So you got to own it, man. I mean,
you do have to own it.
My thing is share the successes, own the failures.
Well, you learn from them. That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
They put it on your shoulders.
I'm proud to say, I'm proud to say that we took, CAO from number 7 to number 2. I'm proud of that, but I'm also proud of the fact that I can say we launched a cigar concert. It was off the market in less than 18 months. That was a world record for a Channel cigar. So I have that too, It
was a good medium blend. I got to be honest.
It was horrible. It was a great blend. It was a wrong packaging.
Well, that's the difference, right?
Rate that cigar a 10 out of the fucking 10. But the packaging was a 2 out of the fucking 10.
I thought that was an ode to the Nashville roots of it all.
It was.
I know.
It was
great intentions.
Soon. Yeah. It was too soon.
So, all right. So,
rating your cigars, because my batter is going to go dead.
Yeah.
So rate your cigars. I'm just interested.
The CAO Zocalo.
Yeah, that one.
That one. No, actually, I think this one goes really well with the Maker's Mark 101. I think this one is this is a cigar, Rick, that I smoked. That I think this one is a pairing cigar. If you smoke, this is not a morning cigar. The CAO. I was gonna say it the other way.
Damn it, man! Damn it!
I know I had it going there. The Zokolo. It's not a morning cigar. This is something that is a bit more brash in the morning. It's a blunt cigar in that regard. After you had a good steak dinner, if you're drinking a good stronger proof whiskey, which we are, I think it actually it pairs better with some stuff like a whiskey or a meal or other cigars that you've smoked during the day.
I agree.
I think this is something that this is not your go-to first cigar of the day. It's not something that, even if you haven't had a smoke all day and it's like 4:00 in the afternoon, you hit a happy hour or whatever else, and you're like, I'm gonna smoke a Zocalo. This is not what you go to. Not for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I was gonna do it, go back to part one, I'd give this one. With the pairing, I'm gonna give it kind of similar. It's an 8 to 9 on its own. It depends on when you're smoking it. I really do. I think this is it's a situational cigar.
Yeah.
This is not your everyday cigar. The Cohiba Blue is something that you can smoke on its own any time of the day. You're drinking coffee, you're doing whatever else. The Zocalo is not something that you can actually just smoke whenever. I feel like having a cigar. This is a situational cigar that it can be it can be a 6 or it can be a 9. It can be whatever, like wherever you're at. The construction was good. I like the flavor of it, but I've smoked the cigar, didn't care for it. I've smoked this cigar and I really enjoyed it. This is a very situational cigar, which I think speaks volumes to the blend that you did with it. Because again, much like with the Cohibas, that if I'm smoking a red dot, I'm not a Cameroon guy typically. I've enjoyed the red dot, which is the best seller of the Cohiba line. I've also smoked a Cohiba red dot, and I'm like, Yeah, what else is what else in the Cohiba line can I smoke? But I think for me, the Cohiba Red Dot's a situational cigar. For a lot of people, it's an everyday cigar.
Thank goodness.
Well, yeah, your numbers speak volumes on that. The CAO that we're smoking right now, the Zokolo, is something that you can really enjoy, no matter what your palate is. But again, situational based on how how your day went, or what you drank, or what you smoke, or what you're drinking with it. I think there's something there to it.
So what's the number?
I think it's a great cigar, Steve, to smoke after a great dinner. Because if you have a steak dinner or some Mexican food or something that overpowers your palate, you need that cigar to fight that. And so I agree with you. I don't think I don't smoke that cigar often in the daytime myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of gravitate to this cigar in the nighttime. So basically, after my dinners, after my cocktails are beginning, I'll smoke that cigar. So I can agree with you that it's not the cigar that I personally pick up in the morning time with my paper, and I'm going to go outside and start working right now.
I think it's a steak dinner cigar or a nightcap cigar. I really do. I think there's a lot of meat to it. There's a lot of meat to it. What do you think, Nate?
Do I have to give a number? I'm waiting on yours still.
Yeah, you do, bro. What the fuck? Yeah.
All right, so
I'm saying that because Steve still hasn't given me a number.
Objectively, I gave a range, but the objectively, like right now,
This is somewhere between a 1 and 10.
No, I didn't say 1. I said I think at this given situation, honestly, with this whiskey, after talking to these guys for as long as we have, and smoking this as a second cigar this time of the night, I'd give this also an 8. I think this would be something that it's gone well with what we've done tonight. And I think there was a good call between the two of you, and we didn't know which cigar to feature because we have both of these guys on tonight, Sean and Rick, that, we didn't know who to focus on during part one. I think we made the right call. I think if we would have started with the Zokolo, I think this would have not done as well. Having a Cohiba Blue before it, sipping on the same bottle, talking to you guys, having a great conversation, then going to this cigar, this is a nightcap type of cigar. I really do think that.
Okay.
I think the difference is, if I had to be even more objective between the two brands, what's so interesting is that this is a unique cigar that it's more of a nightcap cigar, where like for Rick, the Brasilia, the Pilon, the Session, some of the other stuff you've come out with, the Flathead, those are bolder cigars that I can smoke any time of the day.
I agree. I agree.
The Cohiba, the black, because of the type of smoker I am, the black and especially the Royale that are bolder cigars, I can smoke any time of the day. This one, I need to smoke, again, situationally. It's something that I need to have other things that go with it. But I look at CAO, there's also some things out there, again, having a broader portfolio, like the MX2 is a hot seller. It's still a great selling cigar. The MX2 from CAO, I can't smoke it 2:00 in the afternoon just while I'm just hanging out and talking to people. I need to have something with it. If I smoke a CAO MX2, I need to drink glasses of water with it, because it's just a drier finish. It's that type of a thing. And I think that goes into wines, it goes into whiskeys, it goes into everything else, is that this cigar is more of a situational cigar. So right now, what we're doing tonight, I give it an 8.
Okay.
If I smoked it at 2:00 in the afternoon, I'd give it probably a 6. That's actually the honest opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you,
Nate? You're up.
Yeah. So like Steve, I'm going to give the same rating as I did with the Cohiba Blue. It's for me tonight. It's a 7, which is the same as I gave the Blue. Both the same rating, but for both very different reasons. They both have different flavors, different taste profiles, different strengths, but they're solid cigars. They're good cigars, and I mean, they may not necessarily be the most popular cigar in each line, but they're just a solid smoke. I do think that the Zocalo went better with the 101 for me, I think the spiciness of the CAO it paired better with the Maker's Mark. They weren't. We talked about the Blue and the Maker's Mark standing up to one another, not necessarily enhancing. I think even though this bottle's 101 proof, it doesn't have a whole lot of spice. There's some there.
They pair a little better.
But I think the heat of this whiskey pairs a little bit better with the Zocalo.
Yeah.
So I give the pairing an 8.5, which was just slightly higher than what I thought the Cohiba Blue went with this whiskey.
It's fair. Sean, you didn't want to rate your cigar. You smoked this cigar, right? The Zocalo, right?
I smoked the Zocalo before it had a band on it, so I can't.
So out of 10.
No.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I really like the cigar, and if I did really like it, I would have told him.
That's fair. All right. One of these days we're gonna get a rating out of you.
Yeah.
All right. So closing remarks out of you guys, if you don't mind, we'll keep you on just a bit longer here. Closing remarks on working together, just as a general topic. I mean, what's the impact? What do we need to work on? What advice would you give to people, career-wise, personal relationships, other than that, like all of it? Like, how would you talk about what the lessons that you've learned about working together and what are the benefits as opposed to taking things on your own shoulders all the time and watching out for yourself?
For me, honor to be able to work with Sean. It's an honor for me to work with him. Trust. If you have a partner or somebody or you're working with in your company, you have to trust that person. And once you have that trust in line, it's just a sounding board for you to go, to talk to. I can't go to my boss every time I have a fucking problem or I have a concern. He doesn't want to hear that, but I want to get off of my chest. And so to have Deshaun in my life, it's important to me because everybody needs to get it off its chest or her chest. And so I have the opportunity to share successes with, failures with, problems with, and anything else in between with Sean. And so it's an honor for me to work with him, but it's really an honor to say Sean Williams is my friend. And that is more important than anything I can say to you beyond work, because I just love this gentleman, what he represents, who he is. And I know I have a true friend in Sean.
And that's what it's about. I mean, I love Rick as well. And I trust him, and that's important because, when you're working with somebody, you have to be able to have honest and sometimes uncomfortable dialogue. Like somebody needs to tell you, hey man, listen, you're coloring outside the lines a little bit too much, or you want somebody to encourage you, but you also want somebody to be able to offer you, a real honest, criticism that comes from a good place, and you have to trust me for that. And I trust Rick with that. I mean, I always remember, just in sport, one of the big things, aside from talent or accolades or achievements, is a person coachable, and I think in working together, you always have to be coachable. And I look at Rick as a mentor, and I'm always willing to be coached, no matter what success people may think my brand has or his brand has. You want somebody that you can go to and they're going to give you the straight skinny, right? Good, bad, or otherwise. Absolutely. Right? So that's an important thing in working, with anyone, and certainly in Rick's, situation in our relationship is you have to be able to trust that somebody has your best interest at heart. Whatever information or advice they're giving you, ultimately they're giving it. They're sharing their thoughts with you because they have your best interest at heart. And if you have that kind of trust, then everything else figures itself out.
Yeah, Nate.
So when I think about working together, the image, bless you, Steve.
Thank you.
the image that pops up in my mind,
Go ahead.
that the first image that pops up into my mind is oxen on a farm. They have a yoke over top of them, and that yoke keeps the two of them working together side by side, going the same direction. They can't go off and do their own thing. So when you're working together, the first part, I think you have to have a goal, but that comes down to communication.
Mm-hmm.
If one party has one goal and the other party has another goal, then the wagon's not going to get to the destination. It's going to peel apart. It's going to break apart. And that's not going to be a good relationship or a good dynamic. When both parties agree on where to go and they communicate about how to get there, then they're working together and they're going to get there faster. Yeah. I think too often when, especially in relationships, people talk about working together, like they talk about sacrifice, as in like someone's giving up something and then this person's giving up something. I look at it more, and this is just the science nerd in me. It's what we call a non-zero sum game. So what that means is both parts are offering something and they're getting something in return, and it benefits both parties. It's not equaling out to zero. So like if I give something up, that doesn't put me at a -1. No, that just leaves me where I'm at, but I'm getting something in return. So that makes the overall sum positive.
Yeah.
So both parties are benefiting from the working relationship. You're not necessarily giving something up and losing. You're both coming out ahead. So like in me and my wife's relationships, with our goal, whether it be financial or otherwise, there are things that we want to accomplish. Both of us make sacrifices because it's going to get us to our goal faster. We're going to win out. So some people might look at it as I'm giving something up and I'm losing something, but they're missing the bigger picture down the road of the end goal coming quicker and possibly even more successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of building blocks, right? Again, we talked about it earlier about, as long as you're not giving up your integrity and you understand the mission, you understand the mission statement, you understand what the goal at hand is, and you take away, you kind of have to like peel away your own personal gain without giving that away, right? So it's like you have to always look after, your circles, right? It's your own personal circle, then you have your family, then you have your, things you do with your everyday life. I like the working together thing where it's like, I look at you guys had a very important and in my opinion, very impactful message where the things you're doing with your career, and we didn't dive into your personal life tonight, which I see actually being translated with what you guys do with your career. It's the team behind you. It's always the support system. It's the foundation. It's always those things. You have your own foundation, but if you always rely on yourself and you get weak, you're fucked. If you actually have that foundation around you of people that you trust and they trust you, you're going to stumble at times. They'll stumble at times, but it's one of those things, again, with you guys, the powers that be above you, if they trust you, it's this very much the building blocks is not always just the basis of it. It's the building blocks build up to the top, right? So the mission or what you're trying to do, the goal at hand really relies on the entire team. We actually alluded to some sports, and I love the fact that sports are back. The sports are back in a lot of ways because when we took that away from the youth, we took it away from your distractions from everyday life where you can't talk to other people about it because, games weren't happening and all that stuff. And some people trivialize, they really just minimize those types of things. You can learn a lot about that team aspect of it. And I think that's really what translates with a lot of the business. It translates to your personal relationships. It's a give and take. It's always this thing where it's always working together. If you try to do your own thing all the time, you'll not only lose other people that are trying to support you because you are on, they're supporting someone that will not listen. And at the same time, you're not going to listen to them because you think you know best. But as soon as you don't work together and you're not realizing that you're the leader, or on the side, you're also not you may not be realizing that you're the support person. It's that knowing your role and being a role player in the task at hand. Those are the greatest successes, when everyone knows their role at that given point. And you guys know this in your careers, and I think everyone listening out there knows this, that what your role is right now in your life isn't going to be your role necessarily the rest of your life. And I think that we see these transitions, but if you respect those roles that you're at in the current situation, when you're given an opportunity or someone around you is given an opportunity, you actually realize that the team play is the biggest success scenario, that everyone is supporting each other and you're not always just looking out after yourself. And I love that about having you, Sean, and Rick on, is that where you're at in your careers, we've alluded to it. You guys have both been on the podcast before, and we've talked about your own stories. But what is this resounding aspect of it is that if you win, you do it by making everyone else win around you. And now everyone is growing. And I think growth is the biggest part of this, is that working together is about growth. It's about supporting each other. You two, for example, with the Bourbon and BS podcast, to get personal real quick, you guys could have been like, hey, I'm too busy, I can't do it, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is just another podcast that I can do it. I might sell a couple other cigars. But I like ending these podcasts that we all learned a little bit about each other, and anyone listening learns a little bit. They take this piece, they take that piece, they take another piece, and then you guys go into another podcast as guests of this one, and you might actually take something we talk about in part 2 that these other like podcasts are like, I just want to talk about cigars. And you're like, yeah, but cigars are actually, and what we do in this industry is bigger than just what you're smoking. It's the team behind it. It's about who I am as a person and why you're smoking. It's the why. It's always the why. And I love the fact that the why can get out there, but if you don't actually listen or you don't put it out there, the why doesn't get communicated as well as it should. Why should they buy Cohibas? Why should they buy CAOs? Why should they buy from Rick or Sean? It's because they get to know you. But the reason they get to know you and the reason that you communicate that is because you believe in what you're doing, whether it be cigars or any other product. And I see that translating into personal life, that if you are a man or woman of integrity and you know who you are, that's the only way that you can actually grow people around you as you support them and they support you.
Yeah.
Share. Sometimes sharing is the hardest thing to do.
Yes.
Trust and sharing what your information is very hard, because we live in a life right now that everybody swipes left or right. I don't agree with you. You're done with me. And so trust. And, if you trust a person, there's more people out there that are willing to share than bad people. I guarantee you. All you need to do is seek out the right one. You're going to stumble and you're going to share and, kind of take the relationship another way, and it's going to be a bad way. But don't give up. I'm done with that. You move on. There's somebody out there to help you. And you just have to trust yourself. You're going to find that person to help you and guide you through whatever you want to be guided through.
I think one of the most honest hands is when you don't keep the cards close to your chest. If you believe in what you're doing, you play that game with an open deck, open hand. Yeah. You show them your cards. Like, this is what I got, and this is how you can win. This is how I can win, and then you move forward through that.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast again. I hope we have you back.
I love you, bro.
I love you too. Sean, if you don't want Nate on the next time, we'll just like keep him on the side. We'll keep him in the back, whatever.
No, man.
Anytime, you guys have been amazing, Nate. Thank you very much.
I'm relegated to
guys.
producer
Thank
mic once
you
again.
so much.
Cheers,
bro.
guys.
Listen, man.
Thank
Cheers,
you for the
guys.
great cigars,
Cheers, guys.
great work, and everything else. Guys, thank you very much.